This episode is going to be brought to you by Waypoint TV. As always, Waypoint TV has over 2,000 episodes. Man, way more than that probably now. Growing every day. And more and more producers are embracing the Waypoint TV platform. And so you can go there and watch all of their fantastic outdoor content, both hunting and fishing. And it's absolutely free. You can get it on any device you want. Go to waypointtv.com and find out how. All right, everybody.
Oh my God!
Josh Jorgensen, BlacktipH. Man, he can talk. He likes to talk. And pretty much we went through where he started, where he's been,
I've ever done in my life.
what he's doing now, where he's going, and maybe go down a rabbit hole here or there. But this is a good long podcast. I hope that you enjoy it. Josh is an interesting character, and you're going to learn a whole bunch about him. So with no further ado, BlacktipH. So here we are live, BlacktipH, in the studio with Josh Jorgensen. Joshua, you prefer Joshua or Josh?
Either one's good.
Yeah, I notice on your YouTube, on the videos, it says Joshua, always.
Yeah, I always put my full name, you know, but people call me Josh.
Yeah.
I mean, I always try to be as formal as possible with my lower thirds.
I mean, most people call you Josh, but on the bottom, I noticed that with a lot of different people, like the host of Into the Blue, Steve Roger. He goes by Steve on TV, but if he introduces himself, it's Steven. Always. Really? So I always ask somebody, like, what do you prefer? Like, I mean, really, like, would you prefer people call you Josh, or do you prefer Joshua?
You know, I like Josh. Joshua takes too much to say.
Yeah,
it's an extra syllable.
Like with me, my dad always calls me Thomas, but he's the only one.
Really?
And I'm usually in trouble. Or like he wants to give me a big hug. One or the other. It's one extreme or the other. And then everybody that I grew up with calls me Tommy. But then on the fishing world, it's always been Tom. So I don't know. I just like to see what people prefer.
You can call me Blacktip. Some people call me Blacktip.
Blacktip?
BlacktipH, Josh.
Well, where'd that come from? BlacktipH. I've always wondered that.
So when I was 13 years old, my parents bought a condo down here, and you know, I've always
down here being
down in West Palm, and you know, I've always been fascinated with sharks. It's actually like probably the first thing I can ever remember drawing was a shark. So,
are you an artist?
No.
Okay.
No. I have done.
It vaguely resembled a shark.
Yeah, I have done some works of art, you know, but I would say in terms of maybe a digital artist, but definitely not a painting guy. But
so as a young age, is that when you started fishing? 13?
No, when I was 3.
Oh,
started fishing when I was 3 years old in Canada, and then they got a place down here, and I saw a guy catch a blacktip shark from the beach. Now, and at that point, I just like, oh, the greatest thing in the world. So I just would come down here on spring break, and I would just sit on the beach from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. Wouldn't leave. If my parents didn't bring me food, I would starve to death. And I would just fish for blacktip sharks all day, every day, nonstop. And people came, and I became known as the blacktip hunter online, you know, because I'd go on the forums like, oh, look at these blacktips I caught. So everyone just called me blacktip hunter. And then people started calling me BlacktipH because they were too lazy to type hunter. And I was like, oh, and so then I became BlacktipH.
Okay. So it started on the forums, and then how does that translate into? When did you decide that you wanted to start making videos?
So in Canada, you know, you talk about sharks. No one's seen a shark there, right? So I go, I catch sharks on the beach. They're like, yeah, sure you do. No, really, I catch sharks on the beach. I'm like, you know, they're like, yeah, you caught that on a boat and dragged it to the beach. I'm like, okay, I'll film a video and I'll prove it to you. So I filmed some videos and put them up online, and that's how that started. Yeah. And then it just escalated from there.
So what year is that?
2006.
2006. Now YouTube is experiencing a giant rise in popularity on all different kinds of videos.
Yeah,
and that would have been a great time to get started.
It started in 2000. YouTube, the platform, I think it might have started late 2014 or 2015. I don't remember the exact year, but I did get in the first couple of years, and there were a few other fishing guys on there, and I mean, it was definitely a special time. I remember the platform back in the day. It was more of like a social media platform.
Yeah.
You know, there was like a friends list. You could add friends on YouTube. So I would sit there all day in class and just add as many friends as possible, and then max that out. And I'd wait 5 minutes, and I'd just keep. That's how I grew my channel back in the day. You know, you had to take advantage of social media when there were like these loopholes.
Yeah.
So I just started. I run like randomly on YouTube and I said added everybody, and then my views started going up, and then the videos started getting more views, and I think I had my first million view video, 2007.
Wow.
And then my first channel got deleted because I loved the movie Jaws at the time, and I uploaded videos of Jaws to the channel, and that was when Viacom sued YouTube, so my channel got deleted. So then I had
one of many that got deleted.
Many got deleted. Yeah. Yes, copyright infringement. You know, and that's when I learned that reality of copyright infringement. I think I was 17 or 18 years old when that happened. So then I started another channel called BlacktipH. You know, I had to start a new channel because I had all these videos. I had to start off from scratch again, from zero. And BlacktipH in 2008 is when I started that. 2009, I didn't actually, I quit it. I was like, I'm not doing any more videos. And then 2010, I came back. I was like, you know, I saw all these POV cameras coming on, you know, like GoPro and that. So like, man, it would be unreal if I could just fish and film. And I can't, don't quote me on this, but I think I was the first one on YouTube to use a POV camera while fishing. I was in the early 2010, and I was like, man, this is so cool. I'm gonna keep doing this. And I did like 40 videos in 2010. I can't remember.
So let's go back to 2009. What is it that happened where you decided that you didn't think that this was going to pan out and you quit?
It wasn't anything about. So at that time, I wasn't making any money really. So 2009 was just a difficult time of the year for my life. Like I was running the Blacktip Challenge, my fishing tournament. I didn't run that tournament that year at all. I think in 2009, I left college or university, and I was studying theoretical physics. So I left that. I didn't like that. So, you know, I love theoretical physics, but I did not like the education system. Because like I was like, when I got in there, I'm like, all right, I want to do calculus, I want to do math, and physics. That's all I want to do. I don't want to do anything else. No, you have to take history of rock and roll. I'm like, what does this have to do with physics? I did this in high school. I don't want to do high school all over again. Right. So I just got so frustrated with the education system. I just said, all right, I'm done. So I went to work for my dad for a year, and then I figured out I really liked web development. So
what does your dad do?
My dad sells commercial office equipment.
So you're fishing all the time. You're basically a YouTuber, and then you go sell commercial office equipment.
I was actually working in his IT department. I worked in laptop repair. Okay. So I would take apart laptops and put new screens in. You know, grunt work. You know,
yeah. But well, fun. I can see why you went back to fishing.
Yeah. Well, you know, from there I actually went to school in Orlando at Full Sail University, and I went and studied web design and development.
Okay.
I really like programming. I like programming. I like web design, and you know, I like stuff with the internet. So, but you know, going back to 2009. So it's just like I don't even think I came down to Florida much that year. You know, I think it was just you know, I was just so busy with other things in life. I think I came down like once or twice and just wanted to relax. You know, I mean, you know this, like sometimes you just want to go fishing, you know, like, you know, the stress of the camera and, you know, the pressure of getting a show.
Well, it's a totally different deal. And especially as you develop a crew around you, it's no longer just going fishing with your buddies. This is now an entirely different project. I mean, the goal is to get a show. Yeah. And that requires other people. And now maybe a second boat and all of these other things. And it can really take the fun out of it, just as it can take the fun out of it for somebody that they only want to fish and they become a fishing guide. And now they're on the back of the boat and they're looking at the front of the boat thinking, that's where I really want to be.
Exactly.
Right. And that's not a good fishing guide.
No.
because they're never putting their full self into the job. Right. And guiding is an art form. But anyway, so you're having a tough year that year because of what? Because you're just trying to figure out what you're going to do with your life, or
I think that's what it was. I was just confused. I didn't know.
Well, you're 19, right?
Yeah. So
everybody's confused at 19, I think.
Yeah. Well, I really wanted to go into this this physics thing, and I just got really bummed out with that. I had a really cool job. I was going to Wayne State in Detroit, and I was working at a lab called Smart Centers and Integrated Microsystems, and I was doing photolithography which basically all this, like the sensor on that camera, everything. That's how we make these sensors. We start off with a silicone wafer, and we have a design come in, and then we have to put it in a chamber. We deposit gold, platinum, whatever conductor we want to put on that chip. And I haven't done it in a while, so I might be misquoting things here, but basically, I got to make like microchips. Basically, it was really cool. I really enjoyed it. And I got to work under the professor was Dr. Gregory Honor. He was actually one of the top 10 nuclear physicists in the world.
Wow!
So he was super smart. And we had government contracts. We were doing stuff with I can't say, but we had some. I could say that they were doing stuff with NASA and the Army and stuff like that, but I can't really go into the projects. But it was really cool.
Yeah,
and that's what.
At this point, you had studied a lot of that stuff, and you're moving in a direction.
Yeah.
That this is going to be a career, right?
Oh man, I'll tell you what. Like I would sit all day at home, like in the winter months when there's nothing to do because I didn't ice fish, and just sit out there and think about like theories and physics, and I would just sit there and read all day long about like black holes and quantum mechanics. It was super nerd, man, mega nerd. Now I do the same thing, but for cameras. I'm like a camera nerd now.
Yeah,
but like you gotta be nerd in something, right? I mean, I love fishing. I'm a fishing nerd too.
Always. I mean, I find as I get older and older, I become more and more nerdy. And if you ask my kids, they'll definitely tell you that I'm more and more nerdy every year that goes along. But I think it's that you get a passion, and then you really put yourself into it, and you're trying to learn as much as you possibly can, and trying to maintain that white belt mentality of, you may know a few things, but there's always people out there that know more than you. I mean, always. Like if you're a great fisherman, well, have you tried this kind of fishing? There's a guy that does that every single day, all the time.
You just brought up a really good point about fishing. Like, what's great about fishing? I don't care how smart you are. No matter no matter what fish you've caught, no matter how good you are, at the end of the day, it all comes down to local knowledge. Like, how well do you know the spot? You could be the best guide in the world in the Florida Keys, but when you go to North Carolina, you're like, what do I do? Where do I go? I mean, the locals are always going to dominate their water space better. I mean, you might have better techniques, you might have better knots, you might be able to do some things that are better, but at the end of the day, you always have to rely on that local knowledge, to get on a good bite.
Yeah, we saw that repeatedly in the redfish tournaments. Rich and I did the IFA and then the ESPN redfish tournaments, and we started. It would start in the Keys. There used to be one in Key Largo, and then there'd be a lot of them in Louisiana, and they'd go around the state and up to South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't know, and even to Texas, all the way down to Port Aransas was as far as we went. So all the way around the Gulf Coast, down to the Florida Keys, all the way up to South Carolina. And, we would have to go there and learn the water within a week, because that's about all the time we had.
Yeah.
And the locals are totally there. They're on the fish. But what would happen a lot of times is the locals run here. The guys from out of town fish right next to the boat ramp. Sometimes they opened the eyes of the locals.
Like, oh yeah.
Wow, you caught that right there? Yeah, I never burned more than a gallon of gas all day, because sometimes you don't know where to go. No. So you might tear the lower unit off your boat. So you fish where you can fish.
Yeah, it's scary going all over there.
And so Andrew Bostic was always the best at that. He always stayed close, and he surprised a lot of people.
Really?
Just going there and doing his thing. Whatever he did back in Florida, he'd just go there and do his thing. He'd stay local, stay close, and man, consistent, very good. But like you say, the locals. I mean, there's no substitute for being out there every day.
No,
none whatsoever.
I feel like I fish a lot less now than I used to.
Mm-hmm.
And I just, and I'm sure you experienced the same thing. I just feel like I'm not dialed anymore. I feel like, like when you're out there and you get on a group of fish, whether you're on wahoo, kingfish, redfish, I don't care what it is. Those fish, every fish is always moving. They got fins, right? I mean, some fish stay in the same hole their whole life, whatever. But the highly migratory species that everyone wants, and you gotta stay on top of them, because they're, one day they're 20 miles south, the next day they're 30 miles north, like you don't know where they're moving. And if you're not out there every day, especially when it comes to filming a show, I mean, you don't have time to sit there and waste, money trying to find fish.
Right.
I mean, you really don't. You gotta rely on, I mean, like me, I rely on my knowledge of the migratory species, and all right, around this time of the year at this place, they should be here. you know, but every year is a curveball.
Yeah.
Sometimes they never even show up,
Yeah.
you know, and just like, okay.
Yeah.
Because they're, you know, April is one of the best months in the past, whatever, for mahi in this, you know, in South Florida. It's a terrible month.
Yeah.
I don't think many mahi were even caught in April. Horrible.
Yeah. I find it cyclical. You know, sometimes you have the big ones come through at a certain time every year, and then you plan on it. You get the cameras out there, and it obviously doesn't happen. That's the same thing with a fishing tournament. As soon as a fishing tournament rolls into town, the wind starts blowing, and the fishing gets terrible.
It's like every time I want to film a show, it's blowing 35 knots northeast, and
we just experienced exactly that. Fishing in the Bahamas, went over there, and
Did you guys catch anything?
Yeah, we caught fish, but it was every fish was a challenge.
Yeah,
every fish was we had to work very hard for everything we caught, and we had to work very hard for every mile we moved. And you know, you got to put all the cameras up, you got to do all this. Anyway, the forecast says it's supposed to be blowing 25. We never saw 25.
It's 35
because it was 30 to 35. It was just blowing so hard, and finally we did get a good day. But the point being that you're exactly right. Same thing happens to us. You pull out the cameras, you try to do something for someone that doesn't film a television show. Their relative, their brother lives somewhere else. Yeah. Oh, you got to come down and tarpon fish with me. Oh, it's so good. It can't miss in May. Can't miss in June. You know, it can't miss whatever it is. Bone fishing this time, red fishing. You got to come this time. And then they come down there, whoosh, and their brother's like, wow, I didn't even get out. You know, and that's what it just always seems to happen. But if you pay your dues and you stay out there long enough, sooner or later you get the thing. So I got a couple of questions. One, one thing that I've been intrigued and extremely impressed is that you have created basically a YouTube empire you haven't taken any of the normal routes. Okay. A lot of people start out guiding. A lot of people start out tournament fishing. A lot of people start out as a commercial fisherman. Maybe you start out in all of these different ways, right? You have taken a different path. And that path is, I mean, you don't own a boat, which I find it very interesting. And I see you going out in your videos in rented boats and then crushing it. Like, tell me about that. Like, I find that incredibly interesting.
You know what's funny is it's, you know, like some certain fisheries I can't do in rental boats because the live wells don't work. Or
you can only imagine.
You don't know.
It's hard enough in a brand new boat that everything works.
A rental boat is literally a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. Seriously. And, you know, I mean, it's just like, I think it just comes down to like, you know, like spending time on the water, you know, like that's how I learned the water here. I would just go rent boats over and over and over again. And just, you know, then I said, all right, well, if I'm going to film a show and I want to target a fish that requires live bait, most of the time when you have a rental boat, live bait is out of the question. Because 50% of the time,
don't know if the live well works. It might be this big.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So when I target fish with live bait, I can't tell you how many cobia I've missed because I didn't have a live bait. I just had, you know, I've done very well cobia fishing, which is cut pieces of bonita and crabs or whatever I can keep alive in a bucket. But, you know, it's amazing, you know, and like I've just had, you know, I look at them as like almost like blessings, you know. So I look back, like, man, that was a great day.
Yeah.
You know, how do we have that day? I think that was just unreal. You know, and a lot of people, one thing I want to bring up, Tom, actually, that, you know, like I like targeting fish. Like I love targeting sharks, my favorite, big sharks, you know, and yeah, I like targeting fish that are fast and aggressive. Like, you know, like a lot of people make fun of me because I like catching bonitas, but like, you know, it's funny. I've actually noticed this trend, and I think I'm gonna make a video about it. Everyone hates what's abundant. Yeah. Like, I'm going to do a trip up in the North Carolina, Virginia area in a couple of weeks, and they catch 50-pound red. They literally, the average redfish there is bigger than our state record. Right. And they hate them. Yeah. They absolutely hate them. But you go, you know, down here, I mean, people, if you had redfish that big in Miami, people, they lose their mind. Right. You know, I mean, my gosh. Same thing, you know, like in Virginia, that's the end of the cobia. That's where the cobia migration ends. They breed in the Chesapeake Bay. People don't even like they like cobia there, but they go, that's cobia, whatever. Who cares? Same thing in Louisiana.
Same thing holds true for bluefish.
Yeah.
Where in certain areas, bluefish are highly sought after. In other areas, it's trash fish. Yeah, that's interesting. I've never heard it said like that. Like people don't like what's abundant.
Yeah.
Cudas, same deal.
Barracudas, bonita, bluefish, sharks, jack crevalles. Look at what's a jack crevalle? It's just a little GT.
Yeah.
But people will spend $10,000 to go catch a 100-pound GT.
They're a little different.
They are.
They are a little different, but a lot of people don't like it when I say this, and I don't know if I have enough experience, and probably don't, with GTs. I've been to Christmas Island twice, and I've been to Australia once to fish for them. I thought they were a little overrated. Now, that's because I didn't catch. I mean, and this is what the GT fisherman would say.
Yeah.
Well, how big did you catch? Well, I caught, from here to like here. Okay.
Yeah.
I can catch the same size Jack Crevalle.
Yeah.
I didn't think that it fought that much harder than a Jack Crevalle or at all.
Yeah.
But the difference between a Jack Crevalle and a giant trevally is that the giant trevally can get far bigger than the Jack Crevalle.
Oh, yeah.
And you can actually catch them. I mean, they are actually caught, and they can be like this.
They can be huge.
Can you imagine catching a 130-pound Jack Crevalle? I mean, that would be okay. So that's not overrated. I get it. I understand that part.
Yeah.
But I see a lot of people that are super happy to catch a giant trevally like this, and they will poo-poo a Jack Crevalle like this.
If you catch, I think GTs fall in the same category as bass fishermen, right? I mean, they're always catching the same fish, right? But I don't care who you are. If you catch a 10-pound plus bass, everyone's like, that's so sick.
Right.
Because it's just so rare to catch a double-digit bass. And I think the same thing comes with GTs. If you catch a triple-digit GT, it's just like, oh my gosh, that's unreal.
And it's incredible that you could actually bring it in. I mean, that it didn't straighten the hooks, that it didn't pull a split ring. I mean, we had that happen in the Bahamas where a black grouper actually opened up the split ring.
Really?
I mean, that's a lot of pressure. That's a lot of pressure to open a split ring on a plug like this.
One of my videos, some people make fun of me because of it. It's our amberjack video where we lost every single one of them, right?
Yeah.
And that day I learned something that I never really knew was true. So we were using a combination of different manufacturers with jigs, and I learned how important it is to make sure your solid reins and your split reins are actually quality. For example, the solid reins on many of now I want to say cheaper, some of them are more expensive than other ones, but you have to really examine the solid rein. If a lot of solid reins are stamped, they're stamped, they're not polished, they're not rounded in the inside. If they're not rounded and they're stamped, they have edges. So, and this is where the physics comes in. So you got like where I fish here, and I hope we can get out there this week because they're loaded out there. So, you got to fish max drag immediately because, there's 130-pound fish down there. The second they hit it, they burn you. Like I've hooked fish, it's 200 feet. You hook fish in 100 and they rip you all the way to the bottom and break you off. Yeah. And there's nothing you can do to stop them. It's impossible. Yeah. So, and there's also a million sharks there. So the second one, you think amberjacks fight hard, but an amberjack getting chased by a shark, that's like putting the afterburners on. So that's like amberjacks on speed. It's just insane, right? So you got these split reins and you have this inertia change. You got literally very little pressure when you're vertical jigging to the point where this fish grabs and goes. So the stretch on that mono or that fluorocarbon I found was actually a lot worse than mono.
Worse?
Yes. It splintered. It's harder.
Right.
So that inertia change, the second that jig was grabbed, the solid rein would cut the knot. Even if you triple up the knot, wrap it around 3 times, it would still immediately snap it. Because there's that stretch between the clinched knot and the ring, the amount of force that's generated between that on the loop around the solid rein and the edges just breaks it. So you have to look at your solid reins and make sure that it's a rounded solid rein. If it has edges, you'll never catch fish in heavy drag. So I learned that from that video. So now when I go out there, I can keep them on, but the sharks still get them all. Some of the fish when
So at what point do you decide? I mean, we encounter this all the time. We just did it in the Bahamas. We got out on a giant school of tuna. The sharks are getting them, and we just
Were you off Great Isaac?
Yeah, in the canyon.
Same thing. Same happened to us. Every silky shark there, just eating them all.
At some point, you're just feeding the sharks, and you have to.
Well, you know what I do at that
that
point.
We have to move.
You know what I do? I keep trying to, like, sharks. You know what? People say sharks are stupid. I think they're very ignorant when they say that. I would actually compare a lot of sharks' intelligence to the same as a household dog. You know, and I've sat there and played with them a lot. You know, like I said this to someone today. You know, this might sound cruel, but if you put a hook in a hot dog and threw it at any dog in the world, they'd eat it. You could hook any household dog in the world. You know, like, and you think it's the truth. They'll eat that thing up. And same thing. So, like, a shark, yeah, of course he can eat it. But I've had days where sharks, they won't eat nothing. You could throw the bloodiest, freshest been eaten in the world, and they won't touch it. So it's just based on how fired up they are. And the problem is, what I've learned with sharks, the more people that go there, you're actually training them. You're teaching them that the boats. So think of it. Those sharks, you're fishing 3,000 feet of water. Those sharks can hear your engines. They can feel the boat. They know, oh, food's here. And
absolutely,
they learn that. So the more boats, that's what I've started. I'm learning here. Like, the more boats that go out there and catch the tunas and that you know, with inexperienced anglers that are just losing. I'm not saying you guys are inexperienced. I'm saying, like, those sharks over time have learned that, hey, boats mean food. Just like pelicans at the boat ramp mean, oh, I can sit here and eventually scraps will come to me. You know. So, and when you think about it, like the silkies and duskies that are over there. You know, I experienced this when I was filming with Dude Perfect. I mean, they're pretty ruthless. Like you know, and like, I guess, you know, one thing that we didn't have, like, which I wish we would have done, I wish we would have brought some 80s, loaded with 150-pound braid, and then you know, use a PR knot or an FG knot to a heavy mono, hook the tuna, and just drive away. Just drive away. You know, I think, you know, drive away, put in low gear, and just start cranking.
Well, that's how a lot of people over there catch the wahoo. You know, with the electrics, and they just troll, and they never slow down, and they hit the electrics and plane the wahoo out.
Yeah, and
that's the only way they can get them over out of the sharks. The sharks are horrendous there.
Yeah, they're horrendous off Palm Beach too.
Yeah,
I mean, you hook a 60-pound cane or 50-pound cane, good luck.
Yeah,
my buddy had a 100-pound wahoo get sharked.
Yeah,
imagine having a 100-pound wahoo on scene and ready the boat, and then it just gets destroyed. That
would be a tough one, because that's twice as big as any wahoo I've ever caught.
That'd be painful, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Now, you know, but the shark definitely has a place in this world, and it's part of it. You know, I always like having the shark there, just like I like having the Goliath grouper there. It's like, just like I like having the grizzly bear in Yellowstone National Park.
I like the competition
just like the wolf. Just like all of the predators. Like, it's a wild place. I like that. I've always liked that. And, you know, on our discussion on the other fish, as a fishing guide, you make your living, honestly, sometimes on trash fish. Like the fish that people don't particularly like. Man, not every day is the perfect bonefish day. Not every day is the perfect tarpon day. I mean, you could save the day with some Jack Crevalles and other things. You know,
what's funny? It's talking about trash fish, right? And the people make fun of me of this too. I actually really enjoy catching big houndfish.
Houndfish?
Yeah, people hate on them, but you know what the funny thing is? If you actually have hooked like a legit 36-inch, 40-inch houndfish, you know, that's got some muscle, some meat on him, he on a 3,000 size reel, man, he screams.
Absolutely,
he rips.
They run on their tail for 200 yards. I mean,
they're very fast, very, very fast. And they're actually pretty intelligent fish. Like, they have those huge eyes. And I've been bit a bunch of times with them. They literally try to bite you. But that's a fish on fly that'd be incredibly fun with a lighter fly setup.
Right.
And that's a challenge.
Yeah.
You know, and
well, I mean, it's certainly a challenge, because how many people have actually done it? Lots of people have caught permit on fly now. Yeah. And they're supposed to be the hardest fish ever. But have you even tried this? Have you tried a mullet on fly? I don't know. There's lots of different frontiers that are out there that people will. I don't like it when people you know, dismiss something before they've tried it.
Yeah, I'm not a fan. You know what? I'll catch every fish. Like, obviously, am I going to sit there all day and catch pinfish? No. But, you know, I mean, if they're giant pinfish, yeah, why not? Who cares? You know, put down a 1,000 size reel and try catching them. But like I said, like, bringing it up to the point where about the trash fish, like in the Northeast, false albacore are highly prized
Right.
fly fishing, big game. It's
Highly prized. People travel there.
That is a big deal. If they knew the average bonita in South Florida was 17 pounds, which is giant, man, I'd say what these guys, I'm telling you, they like, oh, you got to come catch the mahi. You got to come catch the sail. I'm like, dude, what are you? Like, I mean, those are great fish. Don't get me wrong. I love catching them. But in terms of the money maker, man, the bonitas are the money maker because you can't rely on sailfish and mahi every day.
Right.
Like April's supposed to be an awesome month. Where are the mahi? You know? But I know for a fact in July, there'll be 17-pound bonitas everywhere.
Yeah.
Millions of them.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
and on the shrimp boats behind in Key West, there's, you're after the blackfin, but there's thousands of those.
Yeah.
And it's hard to weed through them to get to the blackfin. And again, people don't like those because they're abundant. The blackfin are underneath. That's what everybody wants. I get it. It's just interesting, people's opinions on what they want to catch and how they want to catch it as well.
So one of the things that, my mindset, how my mindset's formed with fishing down here, I didn't grow up in Florida. I didn't grow up a saltwater fisherman. I grew up a freshwater fisherman on the Great Lakes, catching smallmouth bass, catfish, carp, muskie, pike, whatever. So when I get to come down here, when I didn't live down here, so when I got to come down here, whatever I caught was special. It was special. It really meant a lot. And I think that's where a lot of people miss the audience. The audience isn't this, Wahoo exclusive permit. I just want to catch permit. I don't want to catch. No, they just want to catch fish. They just want to see fish caught. A lot of people, they miss that. They go, oh, we have to film this prestigious
and
fish.
And also crazy looking fish.
Yeah.
So of your videos, do you find that crazy looking fish, strange fish do better than the glamour species?
Yeah. I mean, I'll be honest, like tarpon videos on YouTube don't get a lot of views. Neither do bonefish. I haven't really done a good permit video yet, so I would imagine unless it's 50 pounds, probably not gonna get a lot of views.
Yeah.
No one knows how special they are.
Right.
We did this video. You might have seen it, the mud and snapper on the flats. Did you see that one?
I don't think I saw that one, but I'm very familiar with mutton snapper on the flats, and that's a very tough fish.
Very tough.
Very tough.
Very tough. Like very smart, very fast, spooky, and we got in this awesome show with Tommy in the Bahamas, and it was really special. I'm like, oh my gosh, this video's gonna do so good. Everyone's gonna love. It's one of the worst performing videos we had on our channel, and
really?
I had the high because it doesn't. People don't appreciate that. People only a fisherman that has been fishing for years understands how special that is. I mean, you can't just go anywhere and catch mud and snapper on the flats. Maybe in the Bahamas, but like in Florida, I know it happens in Key West.
Yep.
But nowhere along the coast does that happen anymore. I mean, we wiped them out, you know, so it's a big deal. Can you imagine if we could just go into the inshore right now and catch 18-pound mud and snapper on the flat? That's insane. And that's where, like I said, we make content. Who's our audience? That's
so who do you think your audience is?
I try to imagine that my audience is who I was before I moved down here. I feel it's like that guy or that girl, whatever, that, just dreams of going fishing, and going I make my content to inspire people to go fishing. I want, at the end of my video, if people want to go fishing, I did a good job. I don't care if they want to go bass fishing. I don't care what they want. I want to catch bluegills, pinfish, sardines on sabikis. It don't matter. If the content motivates me to go fishing, I was successful. So that's my goal. So I want to make my content as exciting as possible. I want to show different fisheries. I want to do different things. I used to only do land-based shark fishing. I was like, I gotta catch big sharks, and it just got old on me. I just did it for so many years and did it over and over and over again. It stopped becoming a challenge. Like now, it's like you go out there, you catch 12-foot hammerheads like it's nothing. So it's like, but before it's like, man, it's so hard to get these fish. Because you got to learn everything. Like one of the biggest lessons I learned is changing your line. Like you probably saw back there those massive spools of mono.
Yeah.
Literally every fish I catch, I cut all my mono off and put fresh 200-pound mono on every fish, and I target big fish because that mono stretches and gets destroyed. It's because we fish heavy drag, right? So and then you're fighting that fish for an hour or whatever, and that mono just it's like an elastic band. Once you stretch it too much, it loses its original shape.
Right.
And that's the thing that happens with the mono. So once I figured that out,
your catch ratio goes way up.
Didn't lose fish anymore.
Right.
You know, I mean, the only way you lose them is if you dehook them or if you get cut off by a reef or rocks or whatever. But I mean, other than that, it was like pretty much you 130 heavy hollow core, 200-pound hollow core, 2/3 hollow core, 1/3 mono top shot, 200-pound. It's over. You got them. You know, unless it's the only fish that could really a 14-foot hammerhead can challenge any reel on a good day. You know,
a 14-foot hammerhead, that's approaching a world record.
Yeah, and you know, like there's been a couple of them caught this year actually land based. You know, yeah. My buddies, you know, they fought one on actually it's bigger than a 130, and I think it was an Everall 18-0, which is a little like you could fit a. It's like it'd be like a 150 size reel. I don't know exactly the metrics, but they almost got spooled on that reel.
Wow.
You know, I mean, I've seen big fish just smoke reels. You know, but you can really stop. I mean, the biggest one I've had the opportunity of being around was I think we estimated around 14.4. It was really big.
Yeah.
Big fish. We fought it for 2.5 hours. You know.
14.4. That's big.
That was estimated. You know,
and
but
that's land. You catch that
land based. Yeah.
Land based.
Yeah.
That's incredible. That really is. That's an incredible catch because the biggest one I've ever caught was 13.6, and that's out of a boat. And you're following it, you know, so there's no opportunity for it to spool you because you're just right there with it. Right. So, I mean, it's a great fight. It's a very challenging fish, but it's not catching it off the beach. I mean, that's incredible. That's a really exceptional catch.
Yeah,
really
it is. And you know what? The funny thing is, it's like you know, the shark community is a very proud community. Everyone, like, I feel like a lot of guys beat their chest. You know, I caught the biggest fish. You know, like, you know, it's like an ego thing. But when it comes to actually catching a fish that big, whether you're even on a boat or you can't do it by yourself.
Yeah, very difficult.
You need a crew. You need, like, especially land based, like you can't go out there and just catch a 1,000-pound fish on your own. Like that's like going to the gym and say, I'm going to bench 500 pounds by myself. No one does that. You need a spotter.
Yeah.
You know, two people cannot physically land a 1,000-pound fish. You can cut him off, and you know, if you want to look at him, if you want to actually document how big he is, you need three, 4 people to land a fish like that. That's a lot of fish. Yeah. You know, and you think about a hammerhead like this, or any big shark. I mean, they're dragging them up on the beach backwards. That goes against their entire body structure. So that it ain't easy. Right. You know, and especially when that thing's moving around. So it's you know, it's never it's you know, obviously there's one person fighting the fish, but it always takes a crew, and that's another part that became tough for me. You know, a lot of people, you know, they just like to take credibility for a lot of things, you know, and you've probably noticed that too. Like a lot of people, they, you know, you were there or you helped out, and then, you know, it's all about them. You know, it's like, you know, I did everything. No, bro, you know, like on a boat, you know, you're fighting a 1,000-pound black marlin or blue marlin. I mean, if you just sit there, he's just going to smoke your reel. You need someone backing down the boat. It takes a crew, right? You can't catch these giant fish by yourself. It's not possible. Yeah. You know?
Yeah. No, I don't think it is. And that's where teamwork comes in so much, more so than ever. And I've never been on one of those boats where you have a 1,000-pound marlin caught, but I know that is super teamwork.
Yeah.
Because there's also people's lives at stake. I mean, that thing pulls you in, you're tied to the rod.
Yeah. I've been pulled in by that, by the way, like that.
Really?
Yeah. Do you know
tied to the rod?
Yeah. I was clipped in the harness and everything. I got yanked overboard.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then what happened?
It was amazing. It was actually amazing. I'll tell you what, I've never been so calm in all my life. I was like perfectly calm.
What fish are you hooked to?
To this day, I still don't know.
Okay. So some big fish.
It was either Goliath or a bull shark.
And you're on what kind of boat?
Rental boat. Yeah.
A rental boat? And who's with you?
I got my friend Johan from Sweden and my buddy Colby. He was actually the one behind the camera.
So it doesn't sound like Johan from Sweden knows his way around a boat that well.
Well,
certainly
Johan
in the ocean.
So Johan was supposed to be spotting me.
Yeah.
He turned for 1 second, looked at the camera, and that's how fast it happened.
Okay, so you go in and what happens?
So I'm in, open my eyes, and dude, I'm like perfectly calm. And then the weirdest thing happened. I thought it was like the God was with me in the water. I almost feel like I was getting picked up by my shoulders. And I went. It was so weird. As I was going down, I started going up. Like I was lifted up in the water. It was very strange. you know, and I'm so glad it happened to me. Actually, in reality, we looked back at the video. It took me 7 seconds from the time I went in to get to backing down the drag slowly and getting back to the boat. So the first thing that you do if you ever get pulled in is people can, if you panic and you have to back down that drag very slowly.
Because you could throw it into free spool and then bird's nest it, and then now you're going down to the bottom.
Yeah, so that's what I did. I just went very slowly. Like I said, I was super calm. I was like, okay, just go super slow. I unclipped from the reel and I swam up.
Man, that's presence of mind. That's pretty good.
But it was not a forgettable experience. I've had like I said, I'm very, very glad it happened to me, because if it happened to anybody else, I think they would have died.
Huh. Wow. Did that change your life at all?
No. I mean, it made a new rule. It says, you know, so what happened was I caught a bonita and I was like, oh my gosh, you know, finally. So I threw it out there, blood all over the deck. Now I have a new rule. It says, all right, make sure the deck's not slippery.
You gotta clean up. Yeah.
I was hasty. I was like, oh, I just gotta get out there and catch this fish.
Right.
You know, so that was my mistake. So I made a rule change, but in terms of like, I guess I could say maybe I'm a little more cautious, but I still fish heavy drag. Like when I fish for the Goliath, we fish like on a scale, 120 pounds of drag. You know, I fish 400-pound mono, you know, and I just go as hard as possible. And yeah, I mean, 120 pounds of drag, you make one mistake wrong with that, you're gone.
Absolutely.
I mean, you'll fly out of the boat with that amount of pressure.
Yes, you definitely will.
I would never put that much pressure on a big hammerhead and see, like, you know, people don't understand this either too. When you're dealing with fish that have speed, like a marlin or a tuna or even a really big shark, if you put that amount of pressure on those in the beginning, immediately the line's gonna snap. Mm-hmm. Like if you could take heavy braid, hold it, and if you pull fast enough, and it could be, you know, 200-pound braid, you can snap it like that, because it's just the inertia change. Mm-hmm. You know, that's where like mono, like you try taking mono and you try doing that, you can't break mono. That's why I love mono so much,
because it has stretch.
Yeah, that stretch saves you. And you know what the stretch is? It's also like, it's like braid is like sleeping on a wooden board. Mono is like sleeping on a nice comfy mattress. I mean, it really, when you get those nasty head shakes and, you know, like on braid, man, it can rip your shoulder out.
That was one thing that I found challenging that I didn't really expect with the first hammerhead that I ever caught, was that the thing was so big that, you know, a tuna shakes his head like this.
Yeah.
A redfish shakes his head like this, you know, and you're seeing the rod's just moving a little bit, right? A tarpon is a little bit more because it's a longer fish. You get a 13.5-foot hammerhead and it's going like this, and then the line goes completely slack, and then it hits you over here, and it just went completely slack, and then yanks you. And a lot of people that would not expect that might get snatched off their feet right there as the head is coming back around. But there was so much throw in the head that really wasn't expecting that. And that was one of the more challenging things.
Did you have mono or braid?
The first time it was every time it's been braid.
Braid?
Yeah, with a wind-on leader.
Oh, okay, wind-on.
Yeah. So one of the things I want to ask you is, how many videos do you have on your channel?
I think
hundreds.
A couple hundred, yeah. 300.
All right. So in order to keep things interesting and varied, you choose a lot of different species. Mm-hmm. You go to a lot of different places, but then you also have guests.
Yeah.
So I want to know about the first time that you thought about, I need a guest. Like, how do I pick a guest? Who is that going to be? And what does that road look like?
Well, I actually started doing YouTube collaborations. It was like 2014, something
2014.
like that. Yeah, I reached out to a lot of other YouTubers and said, hey, let's go fish. When it comes to guests, I think what I like the most is when I really like bringing people out. So like, I'm not a guide, but I have this guide mentality. I just love watching people's reaction when they catch a huge fish. Like, I love capturing that raw emotion, you know, and just like that energy, you know. It's like people, they, you know, you can feel it, like the excitement, like it's just like, oh my gosh, is this really happening right now? It's like a surreal moment.
Well, and then some of the fish that you're pulling up, I mean, it's a full-blown dinosaur.
Yeah.
Right there. Like, huge fish.
Yeah, I love it. You know, and that's when people, it's funny, like going back to the trash talking quickly, like I've taken out some of my neighbors back in Canada, and we caught a nurse shark. And they're like, oh my gosh, that thing's huge.
Go nuts.
It's a nurse shark. like, who cares? But they don't see that every day.
Right.
You know, so it's like, it's a big deal.
Isn't it interesting though how you can with and this is something I'm not a big fan of nurse sharks, and I'm very bad about this. Where Rich, on the other hand, is very good about this.
Yeah.
The guy, he knows the guy's never caught a fish a tenth this size.
Yeah.
And he's all about it. It's a nurse shark, man. Awesome. That's the way to go, man. Good job. And I'm like, nurse shark. But I need to be more excited about it when you have someone, especially if it's a paying customer, because one word from you can take that guy's day from being the greatest day of fishing that he's ever had in his life to really, oh, ho-hum, it was a nurse shark. And maybe by the way he was talking about it, maybe I should even be embarrassed that I caught this thing. And it's just one word. It's just one word can make him have a roller coaster of emotions from the highest of the high to the lowest of the low, or just mediocre, kind of like, like that was a huge fish. Why is that not cool?
I think,
and then we catch one smaller, but that's super cool.
Exactly.
Like they don't understand.
No, I think what happens is, especially with people that don't fish, that hire guides, I think, you know, the guide sets the standards on what the fish is. You know, like, you know, if you get like, man, so like, let's just say we're out there catching bonitas, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a 17-pound bonita. That is, if you caught that in Rhode Island or wherever, that would be a state record. You know, well, I'm just making something up, but like when you start comparing how big that fish is to other fish, like, you know, and what the first thing I ever ask people, like when I take people that have never done anything, you know, what's the biggest fish you ever caught? You know, I caught a bass once. Mm-hmm. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna rock your world today. Mm-hmm. You know, and now you have something to scale whatever they catch, right? You know, and like how it fights. I'm like, so then you can compare, and then so they start thinking about that, and they go, oh my gosh, that was just unbelievable. You know, it don't matter. See, that's why like you know, it doesn't matter. You know, at the end of the day, when it comes to fishing, are they having fun? You know, they could catch nurse sharks, stingrays, barracudas, marlin, wahoo. It don't matter. Are they having fun?
And are they going to come back?
Yeah, that's it. You know, and
that's right. And that's a great attitude. And I love that, because honestly, our sport needs help. I think that a lot of people are fishing, but I think that in the day and age of video games and more TV and more inside time, a lot of, you know, the tradition of fishing might not be as strong as it once was.
I think a lot of people fish now for the wrong reasons too.
A lot of people, what are the wrong reasons?
Tension.
Yeah.
You know, and who are we to talk? We have shows, but you know, I never did this, like, you know, and my original, like when I uploaded videos on YouTube, you know, I did it, you know, obviously to prove, you know, I wanted to prove something. Like, man, you don't believe me? I'm okay. I'll show you. But then they started getting attention. Like, oh, this is interesting, you know, and you start liking that, right? Like you start liking that. Ooh, I like that. It's gotten some views, or I like it. I like those likes, you know. But like, you know, like for me, man, like honestly, like sometimes I wake up and I just go, man, I just wish there were no cell phones. I wish there was no computers. I wish I could just go out there and just enjoy everything, you know, and like just like, you know, and I find with myself, I actually struggle to remember things outside of the camera, because I'm so focused on what the camera's looking at or what the camera's filming, I forget to take in the moment actually myself. I don't know if you've experienced that, but like when I look back at all those videos I filmed, I really can't remember anything else besides the video.
Well, I think that's because you're in a work mode.
Yeah.
And there'll be another time when you're in a fish mode, all by yourself fishing. You know, one of the greatest days that I had recently to this point, went back out to a place that I know very well, Jackson, Wyoming. And there's a little creek, Flat Creek, runs right through the National Elk Refuge.
Yeah.
One of my favorite places ever, because I would be a drift boat guide. I'm in a drift boat every day with 2 customers. I'm going to take them over there. We put the boat in. I'm entertaining them all day long. Come back. It's very gear intensive. Lots of knots, lots of instruction, lots of stuff. So on a day off, I would go somewhere else where I have 1 box of flies in my pocket.
Yeah.
I go there. I don't have anybody with me. And I just have a day to myself. And so it had been a long time since I had done that. And I got an opportunity a couple years ago to go back out there and spend the day all by myself out there. Seriously, a box of flies this big. Maybe I have 20 flies in it.
Yeah.
I go out there and I'm able to sit, enjoy the day. There's not a camera, don't have a cell phone, nothing. And
Yeah.
I'm back to the most basic form of fishing, and really the reason that I got into all of this to begin with.
Yeah.
And that's the reconnect part, of I don't have a camera. This is incredible. It would make a great video. It would make a great television show, but I'm choosing not to do that today because I'm choosing to give this opportunity to myself.
Yeah.
Right. And not ruin it with all of these other things that go with it. And a TV show or a day of guiding or whatever is something entirely different than that for me.
It is the same thing for me too.
It is for everybody. But when I go into guide mode, a lot of the customers would say, "Here, you catch one." I'm like, "No, I'm good. I don't need to catch one. I'm here for you."
Yeah.
And this is what we're doing today. And I'm getting great enjoyment out of watching you do it. And I feel like I'm doing a good job. If I'm catching a fish, that's not what the day's about. So I'll just sit here and eat my sandwich. And when you've had a break, then it's time to go back. But then when it's time to fish, it's time to fish.
Yeah.
When it's time to guide, it's time to guide. When it's time to film a TV show, it's time to film a TV show. And they're all different things, even though they're the same. But I find that, our reasons for getting into the television business to begin with and creating this was simply to show people what had just driven us to complete obsession. Like, this is what it's all about. Like, a lot of people don't get to see this.
Like you just said, like the videos I get most excited for, like, sometimes like if I have a video that I have to, because I have to put a video up every Tuesday, right? That's just my schedule. That's my upload. Some videos I'm not very proud of. Some videos I'm like, this is like a work. This is like work. But when I actually get a show where we get this great footage and it was just an unbelievable day of fishing, I'm like, kid in a candy store. I can't wait to edit that video and get it up. It's like, it's unbelievable. And it's just those banner days that we get where we can capture them on video where it's just like, oh my gosh, that was just so awesome.
Yeah.
Like, that was like, and I think, like some of my videos, like, I think a lot of people, like, I'll give you an example, like the mullet run, right? So this is going on. And I was like, why has no one ever filmed this? What is wrong with all you people? So I started filming it, like Nat Geo style. And, down the road, Nat Geo calls me and goes, "Hey, we want you to film with us." I'm like, okay, let's do this, And I actually did that this past fall. We were filming. Yeah, it was awesome. We got some unbelievable footage.
Has that aired yet?
No, it's like it aired to 2019.
2019. Cool.
Yeah. But it's going to be one of their blue chip videos. So we got some unbelievable footage. We had phantom cameras and reds.
Nice.
Everything was like to the nines. But, we had bad weather. We just had Hurricane Irma. Totally destroyed everything. We had all the freshwater outflow just polluting it. Water was black. Like, it was very tough. It wasn't the best conditions. We tried doing underwater stuff. We couldn't do it. But, going back to the mullet run, I was like, I really want to catch this. And now, to be honest, I mean, if I have my fishing rod there and I have this camera that we're filming with right now,
right,
it's hard to pick which one I want to use. Yeah. Because capturing like a tarpon busting through the mullet, and you only get a couple of those shots every year because you just got to put your time in. But it's just such a special moment, like when you can actually look. It's like I don't hunt, but I imagine when a hunter has his dream buck in his scope, or in his crosshairs or whatever. It's just like that adrenaline rush, that just release of just whatever you want to call it. It's such a special moment, and like when I can remember like when I capture something like on that camera and I'm running and gunning down the beach chasing, I look like a crazy person walking around with this giant camera and this tripod. But when you actually you're like, oh my gosh, did that really just happen? Yeah. And it's like a 1 hour photo mentality. Oh my gosh, I have to go back and watch it right now. I got to see how I got to watch it 10 times, and it's such a special moment. It's the same thing like with when it comes to catching like when you catch a fish of a lifetime, it's such a surreal moment, like I'm going up in a couple weeks to try to find a 100-pound cobia. I've never caught one. I really want to get a 100-pound cobia. And if I catch one, like that moment will be one one of the most special moments ever. Like you'll never forget the feeling you get when you have the fish.
Why are you putting so much on that particular fish?
I really like cobia. I don't know what it is. Just I think they're so elusive. People think, oh, they're stupid. They're easy to catch. No, like I've been out there many days where you can throw whatever you want. You ain't gonna catch that cobia. He's got lockjaw. He ain't biting. I've had days where you just can't get him to come off the sharks or the rays. They're glued to him. You can't get him off. I like a challenge. I'm a very competitive person, so like I like to problem solve out there. That's where that physics thing comes in, the programming mindset. Like okay, so you didn't eat that. Let's try this. Then let's try that. I like to try to figure out, okay, what is he gonna eat? You know, like
you'd like trout fishing.
I do. I love catching big trout.
But the fly fishing, like on that little creek I'm talking about, that's what you do. There's one sitting there, and he's under the bank, and he comes out and he eats, and he goes back in.
Yeah.
And he comes out and he eats, and you can see these bugs on the water, and you're trying to look at them and see what they are, and it looks kind of like this one, and this is what should be hatching.
Yeah.
You put the perfect drift over, and he doesn't even look at it. And then another one, you get him to come out, but he doesn't do this number. And then you keep changing flies over and over and over. And you might sit there for 2 to 3 hours on the same fish. And this fish might be this big.
Yeah.
But it captivates you to complete
obsession. Yeah, you can't lose.
Changing leaders, changing flies, changing position, doing this, doing that. And then you ultimately, it happens more times than not, you come back to the original fly that you tried and he eats it. But no, you'd like that. You'd really like that. Have you tried fly fishing?
Nah, not really. I mean, I have tried it, but I just I get when I see fish, I'm so impulsive. I forget everything that's happened around me, and I just go, catch fish. You know, so like
you and Rich should fish together.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we just I get so caught up in the moment, you know, I just forget about everything else. So but I really want to learn fly fishing because it's the next. I feel like it's another way to challenge yourself. You know, I mean,
that's exactly what it is to me. It's just another tool. And I started out only fly, and went down that road and thought anybody can do that, but I was wrong, because all of the other aspects of fishing have a tremendous amount of skill involved.
It's unbelievable.
Tremendous amount of skill. And it really took the tournaments for me to get into the tournaments, and where guys are catching bonefish, and they're catching 10 bonefish, and we're struggling to catch one on fly. I'm thinking about they're catching one bait. Well, until you get a really good spin fisherman, and then you try to catch them on bait, but you kill all your bait the night before, and now you've got all dead bait because you don't know how to take care of the bait. And there's this whole universe of learning how to do this, and learning all of these things. Not only learning about how to keep shrimp alive, but how to keep crabs alive, how to keep pinfish alive, how to keep mullet alive, how to keep pilchards alive,
how to feed them,
how to do all of this stuff. And it's like this massive amount of information. And anybody, the act of hooking it on the hook and putting it out in front of a tarpon that's already chummed up, anybody can do that. But what went into creating
that's
that
what
situation,
people don't see, like the preparation
is
to get to that
first
moment.
of all, you got to be able to run this boat. You got to be able to navigate. You got to be able to know where the bait is. You got to be able to throw a net. You got to be able to do all of these things and have it all come together at the right tide, at the right place, at the right situation. And it's not easy. And there are a lot of guys that only fly fish, and they think anybody can catch them on bait.
Yeah, it's an ignorant. It's like, and I used to be like, okay, I'm gonna catch fish from the beach. Boat fishing is a joke.
Yeah.
I used to think that.
Right.
And then you go offshore. I think a lot of people do say that because they never really.
They've never done it.
Yeah.
So they're dismissing something that they don't know anything about.
Yeah.
That's what I said earlier. I don't really like that, because at some point you develop enough experience where I think education's cyclical, right? Like, and somebody way smarter than me said that, and I don't know who. But anyway, you learn something.
Yeah.
You feel like you really know something. You learn a little bit more, and you realize, man, I have a lot to learn. And then you learn more, and you learn more, and you learn more, and you realize, man, I think I've got this nailed. And you learn a little bit more, and you realize, I know nothing. Then you just keep going around that circle, and keep going around that circle. And I think some people get to the point to where they really feel like they know everything, and they just stay there, and they never make it to that little further.
If you have pride blocks the ability to learn.
Mm.
You have to be humble. You have to listen. I've learned new fishing tips and techniques from people that have been fishing for 6 months.
Yeah.
They just have a different mind. They may be approaching it in a way that you've never thought of before.
That's what I call the white belt mentality.
Yeah.
The white belt mentality is that if you go into martial arts, you're a martial artist, you're everything's new.
Yeah.
So this guy is 1 degree higher belt than you. Oh, and he's showing you something? Oh, okay, I'll do that. The black belt teacher, he's showing you something. Well, of course, there. But as you go up, some people just feel like, man, I'm purple belt. I'll never learn anything from a white belt, right?
Yeah.
But the true artists feel like I can learn from anybody. Just like what you're saying. I've learned something from somebody that's been fishing for 6 months, right? Who knows? They came across something. Maybe they're a physics person like you and know something that you don't. But I find that really interesting, and that's really refreshing to know that you feel like that, because I think that's what fishing is about, and that's what keeps me entertained about fishing over and over is that there is so much to learn. And if you feel like you have worn this one little part out, fly fishing for trout, try fly fishing for saltwater. Try offshore fishing for sailfish. Try this, try that, try something else, try a different location, try a different area. Get your own boat and see how you do.
Yeah,
like,
and
you've
it's
only
hard.
been with guides. Now try it on your own and see how you do. And
try it with a rental boat. There's another working live boat.
I can only imagine, man. That's really impressive that you've done so much out of the rental boats. So, of all the people that you've taken fishing and all of the collaborations, what are your favorites?
I'm gonna be honest. I really don't have any. I've had some. I mean, obviously, some people are easier to work with than others, but I feel like every moment was special because a lot, like some people I fish with, it's it's their first time out there. Like they never even been fishing before. There's some NBA player or some basketball, whatever. Like NFL, MLB, whatever, and they're so like, oh my gosh, is this really happening? This is unbelievable. And then you have you do a video with someone that's been fishing their whole life, and like they do that same thing. Like, oh, you caught a bonita, it's garbage, man. It's garbage. And you're like, man, I'm just, it's just like, but at the same time, you and that person that's been fishing forever, you guys catch that quality fish, and you're both rejoicing. You're like, oh my gosh, we just got a 60-pound wahoo. And you're just like, so I think it's like, it's all relative to, the environment, like I've had days where, I'm doing a collaboration and it's not going good, and it doesn't matter. You could be with whoever. Yeah. The greatest person, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, whoever, you're the biggest social media guy, whoever it is, right? Yeah. If it's not a good day of fishing, it's not going to be a good memory, right. You could have a great day of fishing with someone you don't even know, and it may not even speak English. Right. But it was just unbelievable. Like, so I know I'm like kind of like doing like the runaround here, but like, I don't know. I feel like, I've had the opportunity to work with so many great people. I'm sure you have as well. So like, it's hard to just say like, who's your favorite, which thing is
maybe
like,
not a favorite. I don't really care about who's your favorite. I find it.
Tom Holland's my favorite people.
We haven't even fished together yet, but that's happening. It's getting ready to happen. After a lot of trying to make it work, we're gonna make it work this time. How are you getting in touch with these people, and how do you select them?
It's interesting, actually. It's funny how the world works. It's all networking, right? So like some people say, "Oh, dude, my buddy's buddy knows this guy, and he really wants to go fishing. He's gonna be in Miami. He's gonna be in Palm Beach. He's gonna be in Tampa. He's gonna be wherever." Yeah. Oh, cool. Let's connect. Let's talk to him. And I've had the opportunity. Like, I actually, I reached out to. Actually, I brought up Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. I reached out to his crew, and we were talking, and we were gonna like plan a show for his HBO show Ballers. Dude. And the worst thing happened. He moved the entire production from Florida to California because Florida put a huge tax, some big tax on him. Oh man! So I love The Rock. The whole thing went on, but we were supposed to do this awesome show together, and it never happened. It is depressing, but at the same time, not depressing. It's just upsetting. But I know. Look, I just believe like, people are people. Like I don't get starstruck, it's just flesh and blood. That's all we really are.
Yeah.
Flesh and blood. Some people are more elegant speakers than others. Some people are, but at the same time, like, it's just flesh and blood, right? That's the way I approach, life and relationships. And, like if I want to fish with somebody, I'll figure out a way how to get them fishing. It's just they're.
So what about? So I only watch a couple of sports, and they're at one point they were both very off the grid. I watch CrossFit and I watch UFC.
Yeah.
So when I'm watching your videos, I see all these people, and some of them I don't even know who they are.
Yeah.
NBA stars and all this stuff. That's cool. He's really tall. You know, the fish doesn't look nearly as big when he holds it as when Josh holds it.
Yeah.
But you got to fish with Tito Ortiz.
Great guy.
And I have been a longtime fan of Tito Ortiz. And not only did you get to fish with Tito Ortiz, but then you went to wrestling practice with him and Cyborg. And I just watched this video. Dude. I was like, dang, do you even know? Like, to me, I'm a super fan, right? Yeah. So I was like, wow, that is so cool. And I started wrestling when I was 5 years old.
Yeah.
So like that, I was like, that is awesome.
Yeah.
You're in there with Tito Ortiz and you're going fishing with him. And so how did that happen?
I reached out to him. I was like, hey, man, let's fish. And he's like, yeah, let's go.
Well, I saw him one time, and I would do the same kind of thing earlier. We don't have a lot of guests, but I saw Tito Ortiz. There was a documentary about him going up to Big Bear, training in Big Bear, and then he was there, and they were going to go wakeboarding, and he's like, nah, man, I'm training. I might get hurt. Can't go that. I'm not going to do that. And he just picked up a fishing rod, and he was like, I'll be right here. And I was like, Tito Ortiz fishes.
Die-hard fisherman.
He fishes. I'm going to call Tito Ortiz. I'm going to get in touch with Tito Ortiz. And that was when he was megastar, but the UFC was way smaller than it is today. I thought I actually had a shot at it, but I don't think that I never made contact, and I didn't really pursue it that hard. But he would be awesome.
We had
two other MMA fighters on the show at one point. We had Nate the Rock Quarry and Paul Bontello, and Paul took me to a fight. He actually took me to the George St. Pierre fight. And George St. Pierre, one of the greatest martial artists of all time.
He's really good.
He got beat.
Oh,
at the fight that I went to.
Which one was that? Matt
Serra.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I go there, and I'm on the second row. And I'm sitting with Paul Bontello, and Paul introduced me to every fighter there. And I was just like, I knew all of them. I knew them all. I mean, I was like a kid that collects baseball cards and all of a sudden goes to the World Series.
Yeah.
I was like a kid that knows all the football stats. And I was just like, wow, I know these guys. That's Shoney Carter. That, all these people that were off the grid. And then I went, and George St. Pierre, I got to meet George St. Pierre, and I got to go into this room and watch him spar and hit the pads and everything. And it sounded like a shotgun going off in this room when he kicked this pad. And so I was like, man, I'm a big GSP fan. And I go in there, and he gets a spinning back fist and gets knocked out right there by Matt Serra.
That's crazy.
I couldn't believe it. But that's the only UFC fight I've ever been to. But I just thought that was really cool and a good choice for your show to get Tito Ortiz, because he is history. I mean, that guy was.
He's the beginning of the UFC.
The very beginning, and just awesome.
I used to watch the UFC all the time. I did, and I did martial arts. I did.
You did?
Yeah, I did karate and Commando Krav Maga.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and then that's no jiu-jitsu, but whatever. I learned some stuff.
Yeah, but jiu-jitsu started later. I
mean,
it started getting more popular later, to where you could actually find a studio to go to, right?
But I enjoyed it. Like, have you ever done Commando Krav Maga?
No.
Pretty intense.
I had, I was a wrestler growing up.
Yeah.
Tried a little boxing, and also tried Taekwondo, American style Taekwondo.
Yeah.
And so I did that, and I liked Taekwondo so much because it improved my flexibility so much, and it helped me in wrestling tremendously because I became way more flexible. And what was interesting about the Taekwondo class that I took is half the class was stretching. We stretched for the first half of the class.
Yeah.
Might be an hour and a half class, stretching for 45 minutes. Then you do the rest.
That's what we do in karate. We just stretch for like 30 minutes.
Nice. So what about you these days, man? Are you staying in shape?
No. Like, as you can tell in this interview, man, I've been cracking my back. And this chair is killing me right now. Back pain.
You can stand up
if
you want. So, well, tell me about your life. Like, how do you end up not in shape? Is it because you're just super busy, or
Dude,
because
I get up? Well, most of the time I get up at 4, and I work till 7 o'clock that night, and it's just it's so much work. Dude, I mean, you saw it in there. I got papers on the wall. Do this, do that, and it's just I can never get anything done. Like it's just
so
like there's so much stuff.
Go through your day. You get up at 4. What do you do?
Well, I'm gonna be honest. I'm not very happy with my morning routine. I could run, but you get up at 4. Most people don't like getting up at 4, right? I mean, you can ask the audience. I mean, you guys don't like getting up at 4, do you? Seriously? But like, I don't think anyone does. So I'm a little tired, And what my routine is actually is I go on Twitter. I look at what's going on in the world. That's my news source now. I don't look at mainstream media. That's whatever. So I go on Twitter and I see what's happening in the world. And then I go take a shower and head to work. I start getting like a little crazy sometimes because like I like to like time myself in 15-minute intervals. So like just to try to stay as highly disciplined as possible. So like sometimes I get like upset with myself and I'll set timers. Like you have 5 minutes and you have to stop doing this. And I try to like once you make something a habit, then you don't have to keep redisciplining yourself, right? And what I hope to do, because I know you like exercise, I really want to wake up, go run, for 20 minutes, come back, stretch, do some push-ups, pull-ups, whatever, some using my own body weight as I don't even know that's actually called
calisthenics or
there you go.
Body weight.
Yeah. And then go to work. I think my best opportunity with my work schedule is to use an hour in the morning to work out. I think that's my best schedule.
See, so your family life, you're married?
Married,
you have
two kids.
Two kids. And you're really, like we talked before the interview, you're on my schedule. You have a 2-year-old and a 1-year-old? Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so 2-year-old and 1-year-old, how many months between the two?
It's like 13 or 15 months.
Okay, right on my schedule. Dead on my schedule. So I know exactly where you're coming from. And that time in your life is unbelievably difficult without running a media empire.
Yeah.
Like it's just unbelievably difficult. You and your wife are
trying to
hacking
learn
your way through the jungle with a machete, trying to figure out what's the right choice to make, what's this, what's that, how do you time manage, how do you spend time at work, how do you spend time at home, all of that. I remember those days so well.
The infancy of your business.
Right.
So you're like, you're making money, but you're not making the money you want to make, and it's just like, okay, so I just need to work more. But then you can't work more. So like what I came to realize is I have to be home. I have to be home for dinner. I feel sometimes, it's hard because you get this deadline but I try my best to be home for dinner. I think dinner is one of the most special times for a family to spend time with each other because you get to talk, and I'll be honest, like I said, Tom, like I would rather live in a world without cell phones. I held on to my flip phone. I was in at Full Sail studying web design and development. I was building mobile websites and I had a flip phone.
Yeah.
I hate it. I was like, I want my flip phone.
You're like the guy that can't stand Jack Crevalle's.
No. Well, you know what?
Media is everywhere around you and you hate it.
I never used to text. If people would text me, I would call them.
Yeah.
And I would reply back. I don't like texting. Because I knew with my personality, if I get that device, it's a black hole. I'm going to go, whoop,
yeah.
And it's going to suck me right in.
Yeah,
and, it's...
So, but let's go back to your morning routine and going to work and where you are in your life. Like you are trying to your business. You feel like it's in its infancy.
Well, I've started more businesses, so like I'm doing stuff besides BlacktipH, and
really,
yeah, they're all in their infancy right now. And I'm trying to get them going. But it's just time. Time is the most valuable asset. Time is. Do
you have people helping you with any of this?
Oh yeah. But it's just there's so much to do,
right?
And it's just like like I started hiring assistants to start doing stuff. Like dude, today I went and picked up my mail this high. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. You know, like, you gotta be kidding me. I'm gonna hire someone just to read my mail. I hate reading my mail, dude. I don't even like reading my emails, man. This is like, you answer all your emails, then you wake up the next day and there's 20 new emails. I'm like, oh, just stop.
It's a never-ending deal.
I don't want to answer more, man. I want it to be empty.
So with all of this going on, at some point you neglect your body?
Yeah, it's not good though. You know, like right now, I like I said, like, you know, I've never been the most flexible person in the world, but I like being in shape. Yeah. You know, I feel like when I used to do a lot more land-based shark fishing, I feel like I was in a lot better shape because, you know, when you have
a lot of walking, running.
A lot of walking.
Yeah, a lot of walking, running, pulling, looking.
Yeah.
All that.
Yeah.
Long days.
Long days, sun cooking you up there, and sand beating down you. Everything's just beating down you. But, you know, I really want to build my strength up because, excuse me, I know that I would fight fish better. You know,
there's no question.
I'd fight fish way better. You know, I got the technique down. And I'm you know, a lot of people don't know this. I have to wear every day. I got to wear compression sleeves in both elbows. Both elbows are done from fishing. So,
what's your diet like?
But actually, pretty good. I actually I don't like alcohol. I drink no alcohol.
I don't either.
I don't do any of that or smoking or nonsense. You know, and you know, I do like a lot of carbs. I like my pastas, but now I'm trying to eat more salads, a lot more greens. You know, I take multivitamins, but I have a problem. I do like sugar. I have a sweet tooth.
Yeah.
You know,
but you might try a couple things. Turmeric. You ever tried that?
I don't know what that is. How do you spell that?
TURMERIC. Okay. And you can get it in a pill form.
What is it?
Or you can. Well, it's a root. And they look like this. You can get it at the Whole Foods, and you can eat it straight, but it's strong.
Is this like, an advertising for Whole Foods?
No, okay. But you can you get it. But I was having some creaky knees, and I was like, what's going on? Why are my knees feeling like this going down the stairs?
Yeah.
And I was like, I hadn't been taking all those vitamins I was taking before, and I went back and I started taking this stuff, and sure enough, man, felt a lot better. But you can have an inflammatory response, especially from the pastas, the breads, and stuff like that, that can really aggravate stuff like what you have. And you can clean it up with diet. You should try it. You should try that before you go.
You know who you need to know? You need to meet, and he's actually a fan of your show.
Who?
Have you ever heard of Lane Norton?
No.
Lane Norton is the most intelligent person ever when I met for nutrition. He's got a PhD in nutrition. And
yeah.
I think you guys should definitely meet because I think you two would talk for 50 hours. Like, you know, because he is, I mean, when it comes to nutrition, he's a freak.
Yeah.
And he loves fishing.
Well, I'd love to sit down and talk with him. That's like
Lane, if you're watching, you're welcome.
Let's do it. You have a passion for cameras, like you're talking about. That is like that's your thing. Like
fishing and cameras and programming.
And I like fishing and fitness and family. That's my deal.
Family too, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. But well, I think that's super cool. You can definitely get it back, and you're a young guy, so you can.
I want to.
You just have to develop that morning routine, and I found when I even before your stage, it was when my son was being born. He's going to be 21 in December.
Oh my gosh.
21 years. And I was a fishing guide, really working hard on building the business, exactly what you're talking about. You're trying, you know, I'm working every day, and then I'm not leaving enough time for my wife. And there's this delicate balance of, you know, are you moving ahead or are you actually hurting yourself?
Yeah.
Because you're really trying to move ahead, but this is suffering over here. Your relationship, your most important thing is suffering while you're trying so hard to build this business and everything else. And then your body starts to suffer because you're putting time in here, putting energy over here, and you neglect the engine. It's your race car. You stop changing the oil, and all of a sudden that's such a good analogy. Drag you down so badly, and eventually you just burn up. And just like a race car engine, if you don't change the oil, you just end up burning up. And so what I had to do is I'm like, okay, so I'm going to get home from fishing, and I'm going to try to immediately put on my running shoes and go running, or, you know, try to figure out some other exercise that I can do. And so then I come home from a long day of work, and it's like, now my wife's happy to see me, and I'm gone again. That didn't work.
That does not work.
That didn't work. So I had to figure out, okay, what am I going to do? Am I going to tell my clients that while they're eating a sandwich, I'm going to start swimming, or like, I mean, how can I mean, I was thinking as creatively as I possibly could, like, how can I get some exercise in this day? Because the day doesn't get any longer. So I had to go the other side. I had to go earlier and earlier and earlier to where the early morning was my time. I had to get up before my family. I had to get up before the clients. I had to get up before everybody. And
that's the only time you actually have, most successful entrepreneurs, most successful people in business, because, they work long hours. And like, if you're a family man, this is what I come to. You have to be home for dinner. You can't come home, see your family, and then leave to go to the gym. That does not work. You can't come home, see your family, and then go somewhere else. Doesn't work.
You know what else that doesn't work is it's not sustainable.
No.
Like, it's not going to create a happy home environment. You may feel a little bit better, but you're really not going to feel better because you're feeling
your emotional
not being
exercise,
there, right?
Right.
The only way to get in shape and stay in shape is to find a way that it is actually accentuating your life. It is enhancing your life. Like, you are getting stronger, you're feeling better, and it is enhancing every aspect of your life, right? And if it's dragging down your relationship, that's a non-sustainable thing. If it's dragging down the time that you would spend with your kids, that's a non-sustainable thing. That's only going to go on for so long before something breaks. So you have to figure out where it is. And obviously for you, it's morning.
So like when I have days when I have to get a lot of work done, and I'm like, get up at 3 a.m., 2 a.m., and I just, I will.
What time do you go to bed?
9, 10. You know what?
Wow.
Like when I was in university, Full Sail. So I don't do good at night. Like, I just crash.
Yeah.
Right. So like I can't do an all nighter, but I can wake up at 1 in the morning and just grind 8 hours straight, and then go in at 9.
You drink caffeine?
No.
No caffeine.
No
You
coffee.
are waking up at 2 o'clock in the morning and working all day long, and you don't drink caffeine at all? None? That's unbelievable.
Yeah. I have started taking 5-hour energies a little bit here,
dude.
because what I've learned is, I've learned, everyone has to learn their body, right? Everyone's body's different, right? So my body has a tipping point. Usually after I eat, I learned, like, for lunch, in order to maintain energy, I have to eat smaller portions.
Yeah.
If I eat a big portion, my day's gone. It's over. My brain shuts down. The only way to reactivate that is some, for me, it's 5-hour energy. I've tried other things. I tried caffeine pills. I tried, I don't like the taste of Red Bull. It's nasty. But
I don't like that either.
Ugh. But the 5-hour does it for me. It's like, and I did not like the idea of doing that stuff ever. But it was actually, I was in the Keys one day. We woke up at 2, drove down there for 5. It was a 3-hour drive, fished all day, and then had to drive back. So I'm on, what's the rope between Florida City and Key Largo? I'm on that road.
Yeah, the stretch.
And I'm falling asleep. And I'm like, we're going to die. It's not good. So I get into that racetrack right there at the in Florida City, the southern part of Florida City. And I'm like, really hate 5-hour. I hate energy drinks. That pride in me.
Yeah.
But I went, and I felt so ashamed. I went to the bathroom and took it. I'm not joking. And I immediately went, oh my gosh, this actually works.
Yeah.
And then I drove home and I was like, yeah, heck yeah, man. I'm wide awake. It's a great day.
Wow.
My camera
I've never had one.
My camera guy's asleep in the passenger seat.
I would imagine that's a monster day. 2 o'clock in the morning, fish all day, drive home.
Back 8 o'clock.
That's
9 o'clock.
unbelievable.
No, I got back at 9 or 10 o'clock. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It was most miserable day ever. And we caught no fish. So
see, those are the days. Those are the days that people on YouTube don't see. Like, there's got to be a lot of those. Like, I mean, days. 50.
I have so much content sitting on hard drives that will never see the light of day. It's just, and we caught one. You can't make a show on one fish. Like, you catch one. I mean, you can if it's a big fish.
Yeah.
But there has to be. You have to hook some. If you catch like one 20-inch cobia, that ain't seen the light of day. No way.
No, that's pretty tough.
That gets buried in the hard drives, and maybe you can get it off when you pass away. Your kids can watch and go, oh, look at this terrible day Dad had. But no, that was and. Some people go, oh, 5-hour energy is not good for you. It's bad for you. I'm like looking, I'm like, it's just caffeine. It says it's just caffeine, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know what's in it, but you're not drinking.
Never drink a full one. No. So what I learned with 5 hour, if you take a full one, and it's like some ad for 5 hour now, but like if I have taken a full one before, horrible. You get the tingles, you get the shakes. Like it's like your brain is firing off in multiple directions, different directions at the same time. So like you can't. But if you take like a little bit, like I take a third or a quarter of it, it's just enough when you to get over that little hill and keep going.
Well, a
little bit of stimulant.
A little bit of stimulant, but no other caffeine. That's impressive, man. You are really burning the candle at both ends. I just listened to this amazing podcast. Joe Rogan had this sleep specialist on, and I can't remember his name, but it's a recent podcast. And he had this sleep specialist on, and this guy you should really listen to it because he was talking about the difference between 6 hours a night and 7 hours a night. But when you crest that when you're not getting 7 hours a night, your performance nosedives like an amazing amount. Basically, you're walking around drunk.
It's funny how you say that. I notice with my body, if I sleep in, right, if I don't get up at 4 o'clock or 3 o'clock or whatever, if I sleep in to like 7, 8 o'clock, I have a terrible day in terms of productivity. If the earlier I wake up, the more productive I am. And my buddy...
So you just got to go to bed earlier. Get a little more sleep.
Well, that's the thing, but you can train your body to do that. Like you can just force yourself to go to bed earlier if you wake up. If you wake up early and you just like, I find like the more intense work you do, you're just gonna want to just done. Like when I go offshore and it's like 4 to 7 or 6 to 8, and you're out there all day, dude. When I come in, I don't care if it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm gone. Like bed.
Yeah, that's another thing that makes it tough on relationships to be fishing that hard is you've been entertaining people all day long. You come home, now your family's expecting you to entertain them, and you feel like like I don't have anything left. There's nothing left. I don't have any more jokes. I don't have any more. I mean, I can't even lift my arms up to pick the kids up, and I mean, you're just absolutely wiped out, and that makes it really tough. But there's a fine balance. You'll come across a balance.
Oh, you know what? Life is always about. And you probably know more than I do, but I heard your body changes every 7 years or something like that.
I believe that.
Yeah,
I believe that. There are things that I eat now that don't particularly agree with me. I either put on a bunch of weight because I'm eating those things, or just don't feel very good, or whatever. And my diet changes regularly. And I can, if I ate the way that I ate when I was 25, I'd be 300 pounds, right? So I have to, and as you age, and you have to, I find that you have to become more and more and more concerned with the diet and the nutrition, and the stretching and the mobility.
It's funny, like what? It's funny, we hear about this diet stuff, right? And I know, this is a fishing podcast, but I know, no,
it's an anything podcast. Yeah. We talk about anything, man.
Talk about anything, people, anything. So you think about where we are today, right? And obviously, the records aren't the best from back in the day, but there was a time when I started really looking at like age. Because like my neighbor in Canada, he grew up in a very small Greek village. I don't even think they had electricity. They lived in the mountains. He told me stories. How there'd be 95-year-old or 100-year-old women carrying buckets of water a mile down and a mile up to get their water for the day. My God, how are they doing that? And it's funny. Like we think we're so advanced that we're, but like you said, like you are what you eat, really. So, I mean, we have all this, genetics, and we don't have all this knowledge about science. But it's funny. Like it's like people back in the day, they're just eating real food.
Well, there's a lot to be said about that.
They're just eating real food. What are we eating? I mean, what is in a McDonald's cheeseburger? Like,
I always have this. I have this thing that I talk about sometimes, and I might have talked about it on this show already. But when I was a kid, we would play. Like I grew up in a more affluent area, went to a private high school, and we would play the outlying communities in football or wrestling or whatever. And these guys would show up, and they would have mustaches and beards. They would step off the bus. They were all 6'2", wide shoulders, small waist, hugest people we've ever seen in our life. We called them corn-fed country boys, right? They were strong as new rope. They it was like they were 4 years older than us. Maybe they were. I don't think they were. We were small, runty, weak, scrawny looking little team. Maybe we had better coaches. Maybe we had better facilities. We could actually play against them, but there was no question that we were physically overmatched.
Yeah.
Right. They came from the outlying areas, and in this time, a lot of farm country.
Yeah.
On the weekends, they're throwing hay.
You know,
Their meals are what they grew.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. They were bigger than us. They were stronger than us. We, as affluent people, were eating TV dinners because that was the thing that you could do now. Like this was a luxury to eat a TV dinner, sit at the TV and eat some kind of processed meat and dessert and ice cream and all that stuff, because that's what city folks did.
Yeah.
Well, now the tables have turned, right? As Walmart goes out into the country, the farming, maybe not. Maybe they're not growing the wide variety of stuff. Maybe it's all soybeans. Maybe it's all whatever.
Yeah.
And it becomes a food desert out there, to where now all they have is the Kentucky Fried Chicken and this other place, and the city folks, the rich people, are eating at the organic food store.
You know,
right?
when
roles have changed.
When I played hockey, we hated playing the farm teams, the farm boys, because they were giants.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about.
I broke my arm. One of them hit me so hard, he knocked me out and broke my arm. You know, it's like scary guys. And nobody liked playing those guys. You know, and I believe. I mean, I don't know anything about fitness or nutrition or anything, but I believe, like even going to the gym. I think going to the gym is so unnatural. I think the way we were designed is to be constantly working. I feel like if you're like think about like someone like manual labor, like the way we were designed. If you're constantly moving your muscles, your body, your blood flow, everything's, you might not be going out and deadlifting 500 pounds, but you have strength that you can't.
You're picking up logs and rocks.
You can't.
You're making a fire.
Look at lumberjacks.
Dragging stuff over.
Lumberjacks, for example. Like I heard. I mean, obviously we don't have many of them left, but I heard from people back in the day. Like those guys were little grizzly bears. Like when they shook your hand, they'd break your hand.
Right. They're working all day long.
Dude, they would shave with their axe. They would all they did was sit there with an axe and can you imagine imagine doing this all day long with a saw?
All day.
Those guys
sounds like you need to go to CrossFit, because honestly, that's what it's all about.
That's the original CrossFit.
Well,
right
that's
there,
what
man.
it's all about. But
lumberjacks.
But we lost the fitness world, got sidetracked with looking at the likes of Arnold Schwarzenegger, and the fitness world went down that path of this isolation and all this. The reality was 99.9% of the people that were going down that road were never going to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger, right?
Just genetics, man.
Right. And so what CrossFit has done is to bring back, this idea of functional fitness, this idea that we are supposed to be squatting, that we're supposed to be moving, that we're supposed to be doing hard work. And most of the workouts just resemble hard work. Yeah. Honestly, that's what it resembles. And I don't know, I find that it's really good. I'm not just a diehard, like, super. I try not to talk about CrossFit, because you know how if somebody does CrossFit, because they won't shut up about CrossFit.
Yeah.
So I try not to talk about it too much.
Tom.
But
the confirmation there. Well, you know what? Let's talk about a different kind of fitness here. Right. Actually, have you ever seen people from an Amish community?
Well, they're hardworking people.
Have you seen their body shapes?
I'm sure that they're
insane,
big, strong, strapping people.
It's unbelievable.
They eat from the land. I love going to the Amish farmers markets, when you can go, when you see an Amish community or a Mennonite community, you go to their farmers market or their market where you can get their produce, and it's unbelievably good. Yeah. So that's what they're eating. Why wouldn't they be strong and strapping people? And also the Amish are incredible woodworkers, right? Yeah. So they're working with wood all the time, and they're eating great food.
I'm at Cedar Point in Ohio, and we're with my neighbors, and I don't know why they were there. This group of Amish people showed up, and we're like, why are these guys so big? Why do they all look the same? Like, why do they all have the same build? That's all they do is just manual labor all day, every day. And like, they're, I mean, again, we're comparing, I don't know anything about life expectancy, based on diet or whatever, but I just know, like, honestly, there's days where I just wish I could just be a lumberjack, like, I know this sounds absolutely insane, but it's like, man, it might suck, but at the same time, I don't have to ever worry about this problem.
Well, here's the thing, man, is that does exist today, and you can fit it into your life, and it lives in a CrossFit gym, and you go there, and you basically.
You just said you shouldn't talk about CrossFit that much.
I know, I'm trying not to.
Guys, he's promoting CrossFit. Just letting you know. Just link in the description.
That's what it's all about. That's what that's all about. Anyway,
but here's what we do. We need to go back to some fishing here. So, you brought up the one thing about, and I don't think I ever answered the question about my path and how I got to where I am. I think I got distracted talking about Kobe or something. I don't know. But yeah, so like I was just a tourist that came down here and had a camera, started filming fishing. And that was my path, basically. Mm-hmm. Like simple.
So this is very interesting. And I talk about this, and I've asked a number of people this, and we'll close out on this because we're approaching a good amount of time to close out on. Most of the podcasts are an hour and a half, and we just did an hour and a half, which I knew you were not going to have any problem filling it up on the phone call. The phone calls that we've had.
Go 2 hours, like, 4 hours.
2 hours, 4 hours go by. Josh, dude, I got to go to work.
Yeah,
sorry, man, I got to go. So I have this concept that was a theme in my life. And for a lot of successful people, I've seen it be a theme in their life. And I want to know what you think about this, and if you see it as a theme in your life. There is something that I refer to as weakness is strength.
Yeah.
Okay. So you have a weakness, and we've pointed out several. You don't own a boat. You were a tourist. You're not from Florida. You had no experience fishing for these fish that you're now making a living on.
Yeah.
You all of these things. Lots of things.
Yeah.
Those are all challenges. Those are all weaknesses. Those have become strengths.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that? Do you ever think about that your weaknesses have actually turned into your greatest advantage?
I think so. I think what I think my biggest advantage of why I've gotten to where I am is because I've approached fishing in a totally different mindset than most people that grew up down here. You grow up around something your whole life, it's not special, right? Mm-hmm. So, like, to me, catching whatever was special. Most people hate catching sharks. They don't even want to look at a shark. They don't want to see a shark. To me, that's special. So I think that's where my advantages came out. And you said, like, not knowing the fishery, I think, like, just on camera, when I get to see a fish for the first time, first of its species, and it's big, I'm like, I just freak out. That raw emotion, you can't make that up, and it's just like, it's like a great feeling, and I think that's another thing, like, you've caught 500 tarpon in your life, like, oh, wow, another one, and I'm not gonna lie, I've caught 1 million blacktips. They're not as exciting as they used to be. I've caught 1 million of them, but when they hit a topwater lure and they do a backflip, I don't care who you are, I don't care how many of you caught, that's pretty special, mm-hmm. And I think one of the things that I've learned, in terms of where I've come from, I had that freshwater mindset. So I'm able to make the bridge between a landlocked freshwater fisherman versus a saltwater fisherman. Saltwater fishermen, I'll be honest, and I fall into the same trap all the time. We think we're high and mighty over a freshwater fisherman. We do. We catch bigger fish than them. We have to have way more technique, in terms of how we catch these big fish. There's a lot more things that can go wrong. At the same time, then you go to do a specialty freshwater fishing trip and you're like, this ain't easy either. So
exactly right.
It's not, like you talking about the trout on fly.
Try to beat Kevin VanDam in a bass tournament.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to happen.
Well, I will say this, right? If we can go back on one of the lakes that I grew up on, I think I could put up a challenge with any bass fisherman. Like you said, local knowledge. But Kevin VanDam will probably whoop my butt. But I will say this. I would love that challenge. See, I love that challenge. Like when you say that, man, someone inside me went, Man, that would be a lot. I would love to challenge Kevin VanDam to a bass fishing tournament. I just that fire just lit inside me. Like that would be awesome.
Well, you can do it almost every weekend. It's called the BASS, and he's in it every weekend and going after it, and he keeps winning.
He's a beast,
and
man.
There are a lot of people that say exactly what you did and then dedicate their lives to it and never do it.
Really?
Yeah, man.
See, I don't follow the bass tournaments and that, so
well,
I mean,
what he's done.
I know Kevin VanDam is the biggest name in bass fishing.
What he's done is truly incredible on the level of Michael Jordan, on the level of LeBron James, on the level of an absolutely, completely dominating person in any sport, and he's managed to do it and maintain total respect for the field.
Yeah.
And they have total respect for him. I just think he has done a remarkable job. I mean, to me, he is on the level of a LeBron James that LeBron James came out of high school, went straight to the pros, and since then he has done nothing but work on his game.
Yeah.
Right? He's not gotten sidetracked. He's not had issues. He's not been in the news. He's not doing he wants one thing. He wants to be the best basketball player that he can possibly be. And I'm not a basketball fan, but I can see that.
Yeah.
And he's made it this long without any kind of scandals or anything like that. That's on the level of what Kevin VanDam does. He wants to be the best bass fisherman that he can possibly be. And at that level, that is the best bass fisherman of all time. And let me tell you something. I know a lot of professional bass fishermen, and they are every bit, if not more, obsessed with it than you and I sitting here talking.
Yeah.
They travel all the time. They are constantly thinking about it. They are going after it. And occasionally they're going to beat Kevin.
So if Kevin's watching right now, Kevin, Tom and me want to challenge you to a bass fishing tournament.
I'm gonna go on Kevin's boat.
Straight up. No, we all three have our own boats. If you guys watching want to see that, let's make it happen. I'm being serious. I'm all about it, dude.
I will challenge Kevin VanDam to a permit fishing contest.
Yeah. Well, that's a little lopsided there.
I will challenge Kevin VanDam maybe to a red fishing contest, but I don't know. I respect what he's done. And, he's managed to keep his nose clean the whole way.
Oh yeah. You know what? Actually, I didn't know he was that dominant. Like I said, I don't follow it, but that's really, really special. But I will say this: like for me, like when it comes to like the bigger the challenge it is, the more I want like that's just who I am.
Mm-hmm.
Like the bigger the giant, the more I want to go up against the giant. Like
so. Let's talk about that. What is the challenge? Where are you going with this? Where are you taking this? What are your goals or your vision for what you're doing?
So now online, I've done the saltwater. I've done it well. I feel like and the saltwater's unlimited. I mean, really, the oceans are huge. It all comes down to how much money you have. I mean, do we really want to go and spend tens of thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars traveling to places that no one's ever even been to before to catch fish that's never been filmed before?
Yes,
I do.
I would like to do that.
But the money runs out very quickly, very, very quickly. It's very expensive. So
a lot of people say that money won't buy you happiness, but they've never had a 90-foot boat and a captain that can take you to places that no one's ever been before.
Can imagine.
I'm pretty sure that would make me happy.
It would definitely, yeah. Imagine having a custom 120-foot yacht with Scott
Walker at the helm.
There you go. It would be special. But you know what? Like, I think at the same time, like that's one of the reasons why I felt such an urge to get married is like I was fishing 5-6 days a week nonstop and wasn't guiding. I was just fishing. Got boring, man. Like you just because you're catching all these fish, but at the same time you're like. It's funny, we're never satisfied. The book of Ecclesiastes in the Bible says, the eye is not satisfied with seeing, nor is the ear filled with hearing. So no matter how much we have, no matter how much we see, it's all scalable. Like, you think, oh man, if I made $100 million, I would never work another day in my life. But then you get to the $100 million club, you're like, dude, that yacht cost $200 million.
Yeah.
I want one. Now you got to make $1 billion. It's like
I think that's a trap that people fall into of if I can get here, then I'm going to be happy. If I can get here, then I'm going to be happy. I think the path to happiness is being happy on the way to whatever it is that you're doing, right?
It is. I mean,
like every day, That's what makes you happy. It's the process. And it goes back to fitness. That's the way to get in shape, is not that when I get a six-pack, I want to be satisfied and then I'm going to lose it all again. It's like, no, I want to find something that I can enjoy all the way through, that is sustainable and enhances my life. Same thing with success or happiness or whatever. It's like you have to be happy on the way.
Yeah, if you're not happy on the way, you're wasting your time because the passion's not there. You're doing it for the wrong motives, you know. And like going back to, you know, the what were we talking about before the 90-foot boat? You totally distracted me because like that's like a fantasy.
And where are you heading?
Yeah. Saltwater fishing. So like, you know, I think I really want to start maybe getting a little more into the freshwater, going back to my roots in the Great Lakes. I mean, I really want to go back, but I also I want to start challenging myself and putting myself in situations where, you know, like putting myself in a new fishery where I have no help. You know, I'm like, all right, I want to figure this out. The only problem with that is the only cost of that is time.
Yes.
You know, and time is very valuable.
Absolutely.
Time is, that's the problem I've run into.
Could not be more correct. It's not a matter of whether or not you can figure it out. It's how quickly you can figure it out. And there again, is it's not about catching the fish. What you're saying is that what gives you great pleasure is not catching the fish. It's not the end result. You hire a guide for that.
Yeah.
What makes you happy and what makes a lot of fishermen happy is the act of going up there and figuring it out. How do you navigate this lake? What's the best time of day? Are there tides? Is there all these different factors.
Did you see the video? And this is totally like, this is going back to the absolute trash fish. But did you watch the video where we caught the parrotfish on seaweed?
Yes. So I thought that was actually really cool. So I don't watch all your videos, but I have watched a few, and that was one that I thought was really cool.
So we were beach fishing. The pompano were biting. I love catching pompano, but the waves were so big, we couldn't. Raleigh got washed on the beach. You know, the line got washed on the beach. So like, okay, that's not happening. And I had a guest in from town, Kyle. He's actually the fish whisperer. You might know him on Instagram.
No, I see his videos, man. I've been following that guy for years. So cool. He feeds the bass.
Yeah, super cool guy. So we're like, okay, this isn't working. So now we got to go to a jetty, and you know, we're sitting there watching these parrotfish. Wonder if they would eat a sand flea. You know, I had a sand flea with us. I'm like, so we started putting sand fleas in the water because I know they got to eat something. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, they're not eating that. Then we're actively targeting these fish. And then we do the tide switches. It's outgoing tide now. And the seaweed starts flushing out. And these things are airing out on the seaweed. I'm like, is there crabs in there? I mean, what are they eating? Then it clicked. Dude, they're just eating the seaweed. So we sat there and snagged seaweed. I said to myself, I can't believe I'm actually trying to catch seaweed right now. This is one thing I've always hated my whole life. I hate seaweed. So we're trying to catch the sargassum. We put on the hook and we start crushing them. And then the next day we go there, and we spent that whole day, we figured it out. And the next day, all right, we got this dialed in now. We go and get a big, and then one thing we learned with the seaweed, you have to change the water every hour. If the seaweed starts changing color, they won't eat it.
They won't eat it.
It has to be fresh. The sargassum has to stay alive. So that seaweed was just as important as keeping live as pilchards or any other bait. You had to change that water.
Interesting.
So we went and got a big glop of seaweed. We put it in the bucket. We changed our water, and we caught like 40 parrotfish that day. The next day.
That's super cool. That's a pioneering kind of thing. I've never seen anybody do that.
It was awesome, you know, and like that's, I'll never forget that. Like and then I showed my friends. He's like, this is like a world record. How did you figure this out? Who, dude? The funniest thing. Like that, you know, there's a bunch of people fishing on that jetty. Everyone was fishing with seaweed, but like everyone was like, "Can I borrow a piece of seaweed? Can I borrow a piece of seaweed?" And everyone's trying to catch these parrotfish.
Yeah, that's cool.
Because that's all it was biting.
Right.
You know, like we're sitting there whacking them left, right, and center, and then they're throwing lures trying to catch jacks or.
But the only reason why that happens, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you're out there to do a video.
Yeah.
Nothing's happening. So now you need to do a video. And this seems to be happening.
Exactly.
So you try to figure it out. See, that's a lot the same as why I like fishing tournaments and why I feel like fishing tournaments were really important to my development as a fisherman, because the wind's blowing. It's cranking. It's 30 knots. Well, the tournament's still happening.
Yeah.
Would you have gone if it was a charter?
No.
No. Would you have gone if it was you and your buddy? No. but you've paid to be in this tournament. Everybody else is going. Now you're going in conditions that you previously thought were completely impossible.
Mm-hmm.
Probably nobody's going to catch anything, so you don't fish that hard the first time you do this. And you come back, and there are weights on the board that you can't even believe. And it's not BS because they went on a scale. Everybody saw them. It's real.
Yeah.
And you saw exactly who did it, and you see exactly who performed and who didn't. And I found that to be incredibly interesting. And then it's raining. Can you catch them in the rain? Yeah. Well, the tournament keeps going in the rain. The tournament keeps going in every condition. And you see who is consistently a performer.
Of what you're saying, I've noticed some of the most special things I've ever witnessed has happened in windy, rainy conditions. Like I've seen things like I'll never forget. I'm on the beach one day. It's the most miserable weather you've ever seen in your life, and there's sailfish everywhere, jumping 100 yards off the beach.
Wow!
Like what's going on right now?
Barometric pressure.
Something. Well, like my best wahoo day ever. We, in Florida. Florida. I mean, we're high speed trolling, and the storm rolls in, dude. And I've learned this now. That 40-minute window when that pressure drops, those wahoo, every fish is just chewing. We every 20 minutes, bite. We were just whacking left, right, and center. And the moment they start raining, bite stopped. Stopped completely. As the storm was ending, bite turned back on. So they definitely respond to that pressure.
Yeah.
And you can only learn that is if you're out there on those bad days. If you're if you don't go out on those bad days,
then it's just theoretical.
Yeah,
it's probably not that good out there. Or I hear people kill them on these days. But if you're not out there, you don't have that experience. It's not one more thing that you can draw from. Trout fishing it makes it really freshwater trout fishing. It's very obvious what happens. The storms roll in, the barometric pressure changes, and every insect in the river comes up, and you have this massive hatch.
Yeah.
Like all of a sudden, there's just fish, and then the clouds part, and it stops.
Yep.
And so it's really, really super obvious, and you're actually targeting those days, and you see that, and you're working towards that. But in the saltwater, it's a little different.
There's a spot I fish. I'm not going to name it, and some people that are listening might know it. If the conditions aren't the nastiest thing that you've ever witnessed in your life, you're not going to catch tarpon. The nastier, bigger, nastier it is, the better the fishing is. The better you'll hook 50 tarpon in 1 hour.
Wow!
But if it's flat calm and there's no wind, you ain't seeing nothing. You ever see the video of the blacktips I got with the poppers and them blowing up and doing backflips and that?
I've seen some amazing footage that you've done with the blacktips. I don't know if it's the one that you're talking about.
I've tried to recreate that day. I filmed that in 2015. I tried to recreate that day for the last 3 years. Can't do it. And it was a rainy, those 2 days, if we filmed that over 2-day stretch, it was rainy, southeast wind, it was blowing pretty good. And the most important thing was cloudy. What I've learned with blacktips, if it's cloudy or low light, because of the way their eyes are, they will feed unbelievable. They'll feed, if it's midday, what I've learned, you have to downsize your lure to the point where it's like this big. And with fluorocarbon, for them to even think about trying to eat it. If you don't downsize your lure and downsize your leader,
have you tried those spool techs? Do you fish with those?
They break them. Yeah. Those things aren't designed for like an 80-pound fish, like a blacktip. When they jump and spin,
they have some.
I've caught a lot of big fish on those, but they, and even that's too big. You have to throw the smallest one possible. Midday, they won't eat it. They won't. It's not the leader. It's the lure that scares them.
Yeah.
You have to, like I've noticed that, but in low light, it's unbelievable. They will bite. I've had it, Tom, where, I get like that. That's what my favorite thing is topwater blacktips on lures. You have to get out there the moment you see this first glimpse of light. The second that sun hits the surface, the bite's over. It's done.
Very similar to tarpon.
Yeah.
Very similar.
And they won't bite, and then if you want to give them a chase, like you could be right there, like they're, on the beach, you have one advantage over the boat. The boat, because there's so many big hammerheads that are trying to eat the blacktips, the boats spook all the sharks. They feel that presence. They feel something big. They shut off immediately. From the beach, you can approach them much more stealthy. You know, you can creep up on them, and they, you know, but if you get too close, they're done. Like bonefish on the flats, they're gone.
Yeah.
You know, and I've thrown like 3-inch poppers at free swim, like blacktips that are cruising the trough. The second the popper lands, they bolt in the other direction. They just, the splash spooks them.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
They're very smart. They're a very smart animal. I think the blacktip is a in my experience, you know, fishing for all these different sharks. Some seem to rely way more on scent. Some rely way more on feeling this stuff. And the blacktip seems to be more of a sight feeder. And that's what I've always thought, that they're seeing. We would catch them on tarpon flies a lot of times. Like you're dredging a channel, you're not seeing what's out there, and you get hooked up, and you make, you know, all of a sudden it jumps. What's that? And you look, and then it's running just like a tarpon and going, and then it's a blacktip.
Can you imagine if blacktip? I know in South Africa they do. Can you imagine if we could catch blacktips that are like 300 pounds?
Whoa, that'd be awesome.
Imagine how hard those things would fight.
That's what you have to do. You have to go there and catch them.
That's what I'm saying. It's like how much money you want to spend. You know, like you got to go to, you know, Durban. You got to go down to all those. You know, it's just those trips cost money. But that's what I'm saying. Like the freshwater, we all know this in the industry. That's the biggest market, right? So like, you know, I grew up freshwater fishing, so I want to. You know, I want to go back and relive what I did. I want to go back to the places where.
Does that mean that you would move?
No, definitely not. The moment I came to Florida, I knew I would live for the rest of my life. There's no way. The only way I'm leaving Florida is if our fishery completely shuts off, dies, and there's no hope of it ever coming back. And then I'm moving to Louisiana, or somewhere else.
Yeah.
But I ain't leaving. You know, man, it's so odd. If you're a fisherman, this is where you want to live, because you can do whatever. If you like bass fishing, you can go catch giant bass. If you like inshore fishing, we got everything. Indian River,
and then all the exotics, and then the saltwater, and both coasts. I mean, each coast is quite a bit different than the other.
Different.
And then you go straight down, and you hit
Middle
the Keys.
Grounds, Bahamas is like right there. I mean, there's so much to do here.
Yeah.
You know, like other states, they have, like North Carolina has an amazing fishery, but you got to have a big boat.
A really big boat.
Yeah, you need to spend the money to go and catch those fish. You can catch the reds and the other things in the Kobe that cruise the beach, but if you want to get out and hit the marlin, there's big marlin there, there's huge marlin there, the wahoo, the dorado, the mahi, you got to spend the money. And like, you know, just to go to the Bahamas on a 67-foot Bertram, it's like almost $2,000 in fuel.
That's an amazing trip. I mean, that's a lot of money, just like you're saying. And that's an interesting thing when it does boil down to the money, but it also boils down to the time. And and that's where a lot of people want to experience this. And the time cruncher, the time killer, is you get a guide, and he takes you and puts you right on the meat, and you can experience that without having to put in all that time, and that's awesome.
And that's why
that's amazing.
That's like, see, a lot of people they get on my case, like they're like, "Wow, all you do is fish guides." I'm like, dude, listen, if I go somewhere and I don't know that fishery, or if I'm going to, you know, like I said, I don't own a boat. So if I need to film a specific show that requires reliable electronics and reliable live wells, I'm not going to rent a boat. I got to work with a guide, you know, and I've built great relationships with some of the guides, you know, that I fish with. And I try to keep it, you know, the same group of guys. I don't like just going over random people, because I don't, you know, it's all how they, in terms of show, how they are on camera is very important. There's a lot of guys that are just a piece of plywood. They just, you know, they're great fishermen, but they have zero personality. And that's not good for TV or for.
Or they may have a wonderful personality, but they just get a little nervous when the camera turns on.
Yeah, they get camera shock, you know. So, but going back to it, like that's like this is a business, you know. Like you guys have a business. Like I'm doing one show a week, right? So I have to make, like when I travel, I don't have time to waste there. Now you think we're paying hotel fees, we're paying all these fees that we normally would not pay because we live in our house, you know, or whatever. So you're spending all this money. You do not have time to sit out there and try to figure out a fishery you've never been to before. That's a waste of money and a waste of time.
Well, that's just reality. That's the way that you have to do it, and I think that you have to understand that it's not. That's what you're doing. You're going places to increase the variety of your show. You're trying to keep people entertained, and you're not going to make everybody happy all the time.
No.
So that's the final question. How do you deal with the comments? Do you read them?
Yeah, I do. I used to respond to every comment I would even translate every comment in every language. I would translate it. You know, I've ran out of time now, so I try to read every comment, but the reality is I don't. It's not enough time in the day, you know. And you know, I'm trying to get better with the fans and interact with them more. But you know, like I said, time. There's so many things going on now in my life. You know, when you're not married and you don't have kids, my gosh, man, you can just come home, open up the computer, and just sit there for 4 hours and answer comments. Put on a movie, put on the game, whatever.
Yeah.
Good to go. But when you have to spend time with people in your life, you can't just ignore that. You know, and like you said, the fitness problem. You know, you got to get your work done. You just run out of time. So, like, you know, the hate comments have actually blocked. I have probably like 300 words that I have in my block filter on YouTube. So anything that I don't want to hear, I never see it. It gets blocked and it's gone.
Yeah.
You know, and you know what? Some people, like the haters, you know, you gotta turn. You know what? I just like, you gotta respond back with kindness. Sometimes some people really irk me, and I just go, all right. I remember the one time you had that one guy when I was working with you guys for your YouTube channel that I'll never forget the comment. I don't know if I'll say it, but I'm sure you remember.
Go ahead.
You
Do it.
Remember they called you Hollywood Tom. Remember that? They said
I don't remember that, but that's interesting.
You don't remember that comment? You got shook up about it. The guy said, he said, I'll never forget who it was. He said, Rich Tudor is the real fisherman. Tom just comes down from Tennessee and he's Hollywood Tom.
Yeah.
You know, but I'm like, then you call me like, Josh, you know, I ate ramen noodles every day. I didn't guide. I didn't charge fuel for this much time. I went to learn my fishery. You know, you paid your dues, you know, but they don't see that, you know, and everyone, you know, dude, the way I look at it, everyone wants to chop down the tallest tree. You know, they always want to. People want to pick at giants. I mean, you know, because you know, like I say, like you have big numbers, you're on TV or whatever it is. People want to hate. They just do because they're not hating us. They're hating themselves. That's the truth. They're hating that they're not successful. You can't, you know, like for example, like some people will get really successful at doing something that is so simple, but at the same time, everyone's like, well, I could do that, no problem. Well, why don't you? Why don't you do it? What's holding you back? You know, it's because they hate themselves, you know, and, you know, to be honest, like, those are the people that I need to pray for. I mean, seriously, because they're not going through, you know, there's something going on in their life. Like you can't, you know, people that just hate on success, most of the time, they're not successful. They're hating on their failures.
And they'll never get it because they're blocking it from they're creating a blockage that they can't get around.
If you are always focused on what other people are doing, and trust me, it's hard. There's a lot of noise out there. If someone in the if you're in a specific industry and someone's getting really hot, you're going, what is he doing? What is he doing? You know, you want to study that person. What are they doing? In reality, I find the best thing to ever do is to just shut off everything and compete against yourself.
Just do your work.
Just compete against yourself. Just
pay your dues. Do your work.
The more competitive you are against yourself, the more you become successful with yourself, right? So like, okay, so like I built this tool in 20 minutes. Now I want to build it in 15 minutes. Build it in 10 minutes. You know, how can I become more efficient? You know, I used to do 2 videos a month. I'm sorry. Now I do 1 video a month, 1 video a week. Now I want to switch to 2 videos a week. You know, but if I'm worried about what other people are doing and what they're not doing, how am I ever going to keep stepping that up? You know, I can't. I have to just focus on what I'm doing, get it done. And yeah, so what if I'm catching bonitas? So what if I'm catching whatever? It don't matter. I mean, I'm going out there, I'm having fun, and I'm enjoying my time. You know, hey, if the parrotfish are what's all that's biting that day, man, I'm going to be catching some parrotfish.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, listen, man, I think we're going to call this here, but honestly, I've really enjoyed this conversation.
Yeah, me too.
I love it that you have such a positive attitude. I have positive people around me. I make sure that everybody that I have around me is positive. I don't deal with negative people. I love a positive attitude. I love being around people that are positive and going after it. And and you're doing it, man. You're doing a great job. It's been really fun to watch you progress through this, and I will be very interested to see where you take it.
Yeah, me too, actually.
So tell everybody where they can, if they don't already, are not already one of your how many followers?
If you guys want to follow Tom, Saltwater Experience, check him out. I'm BlacktipH. You can call me Blacktip or Josh or Joshua, like you said in the beginning of the video. And just go to YouTube and type in BlacktipH. There's BLACKTIP, letter H. One word, no spaces.
What about the others?
The same thing on everywhere. BlacktipH, Facebook, Instagram. It's all the same.
You got big followings on all of those. All right, man. That's awesome. We're going to fish. We're going fishing. I'm going fishing with Josh day after tomorrow.
We can tell them the plan. I mean,
sure.
I have a plan right now. So the plan is to run the beach. We're going to run 30 miles. We're going to cover a lot of water. We're going to look for tarpon, jacks, permit, and cobia on the beach. I'm going to use my drone. I got 9 batteries, so we're gonna have that drone in the air the whole time we're running. Every fish within 700 yards of our boat is going to be seen. So we're going to do that. Then we're going to head offshore. We're gonna run the ledge north, back up north, and we're gonna go hit the mahi. The mahi
just so I can prepare. Am I having to wake up at 2:00 in the morning?
No. We'll wake up. I'll get up probably at 4. So I could probably meet you at we probably want to start fishing at 6.
Okay.
So
just want to know.
5.
I might need to go to bed now.
Well, you got a whole day to sleep, but
yeah. Well, I'm going to while I'm here, I'm going to do another podcast with another YouTuber, Deer Meat for Dinner, tomorrow morning.
Oh wow,
putting that one in. So
Rob's a great guy.
Yeah,
positive guy, great guy. He just all around great outdoorsman. And you know what? I don't hunt, but when I was out on his ranch and him talking about the leaves and whatever the plants are,
mm-hmm.
Man, he's dialed, man. He understands that stuff. He's got.
I'm really looking forward to getting to know him a little better. I don't really know him very well, but I put it out there to the podcast audience. I said, "Who would you like to see me interview?" And I had 25 people say, "Robert Arrington, Deer Meat for Dinner."
Perfect.
So looking forward to it. It's going to be a very productive trip from the Bahamas. Doing this podcast with you, fishing with you, and doing the podcast with Robert. Looking forward to it. So stay tuned, and you can always find this podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and on our website, Saltwater Experience. Just look up Tom Rowland Podcast on any of those platforms, and you can hear all of BlacktipH and all of the other amazing guests that we've had. We talk about everything under the sun. Sometimes it's fishing.
A lot of CrossFit, guys. A lot of CrossFit. every podcast from now on is going to just talking about half of it's going to be CrossFit.
You just lost 90% of the audience.
No.
Later, Josh.
All right, dude. See ya.
All right, everybody. Thank you for listening to that podcast. I hope you enjoyed my interview with Josh Jorgensen, BlacktipH. Thanks for suggesting him. That was an excellent suggestion. If you have suggestions, hit me up. podcast@saltwaterexperience.com. podcast@saltwaterexperience.com is an email address that comes directly to me. Fill up the inbox. Overflow it. I love the feedback I've gotten so far. Excellent. And so many people have really told me how much they like the podcast. So, man, awesome. Let's keep it going. If you enjoyed this podcast, please go to iTunes, rate and review it. The more ratings and reviews we get, the more people will encounter this podcast. It gets into the feed on iTunes, and I don't know, they get it out to more and more people. The more people we can get it to, the more sustainable model it becomes, and be able to do this for a long, long time. I'm hoping, because right now it's an experiment. Anyway, thanks for those emails. Thank you for listening to the show. Subscribe so you get every show. We try to put them out every Wednesday. Sometimes we have technical difficulties, but mostly they're coming out on Wednesdays. So be ready, because I sat down with some incredible people. We've got Deer Meat for Dinner coming up. We've got Ryan Nitz coming up. We've got Davis Bennett. 3 more YouTube social media sensations. So stay tuned. Subscribe. Thank you. See ya.